Did you just finish your PhD?
Are you looking for an opportunity to boost your research career?
The Maria Skłodowska-Curie Actions postdoctoral fellowships are some of the most renowned fellowships granted to early career researchers and also one of the highest awards for individual scientific research funded by the European Commission.
These fellowships offer the opportunity of moving abroad to join a prestigious research institution or company. You can be funded to move to Europe or anywhere else in the world, and even to restart your research career after having had a break.
The postdoctoral fellowship allow researchers from China to do a 1 or 2 year research project anywhere in Europe, where the focus is not only on excellent science, but you and your future career ambitions.
Did you know that since 2014, 414 Chinese researchers have gone to a new country in Europe to do their research funded by the Maria Skłodowska-Curie Actions Fellowships?
The deadline for this year's fellowship is coming up. Why wait for much longer? Boost your research career now.
Have you already started your application? Do you have any doubts, or do you need advice on how to complete it? Or are you just curious about it?
Learn more by joining our upcoming webinar and get training from experts from Europe. Everybody will have a chance to ask questions.
Join our webinar by registering today on china.euraccess.org.
Maybe Vanessa, you could introduce.
OK 大家好，我是 EuroAccess Vanessa。然后这里呢，我想先跟大家介绍一下我们 EuroAccess 成员，包括我们的 Hodlberg 先生。Hodlberg 先生已经在中国有10几年的时间，然后他一直致力于中欧科技之间的交流，还有中欧科研人员之间的交流。还有我的同事安娜在中国呢也很有渊源，她之前在重庆，然后呢加入我们 EuroAccess 已经有3年的时间了。我们 EuroAccess 呢，主要是致力于中欧科研人员之间的交流。然后呢，今天我们很荣幸，然后邀请到我们有3位专家参与到我们今天玛丽居里奖学金的分享。Hello, Holder, you want to introduce the speakers?
Yes, thank you so much, Vanessa. Indeed, I will be introducing the speakers. I will also be a little bit introducing first a bit what we in EuroAccess are doing. But I just want to start by welcoming all of you here today to this webinar on Maria Skłodowska-Curie Actions Postdoctoral Fellowships. It is extremely important way for Chinese researchers that are coming to China. We have had hundreds and hundreds of Chinese researchers successfully doing fellowships in European universities through these schemes. I want to thank everybody that are here with us today. We have excellent speaker from Europe, a national contact point, Lily, who I will introduce in a moment, as well as the Marie Curie Alumni Association China chapter. They are also a great supporter of today's event and are also like a reason why it's so good. So I hope that that they understand how sort of appreciative we are for all the support that they've brought to this webinar, not only promoting it and helping us organizing it, but also they have 2 speakers that are going to be coming later in the event today to introduce sort of their experience of being Chinese researchers within the Marie Curie scheme in Europe, which I think is extremely helpful for a lot of you to hear from like other Chinese researchers, their experience. I think that's very good. And I want to thank the Marie Curie Alumni Association for this part. But before I want to go any sort of further with this, I want to first encourage all of you to join our WeChat group. So we have like a WeChat group for everybody that are coming to today's event. This is something that we've been doing through our webinars throughout the years. Always to put together a group for everybody that comes. You can scan the QR code and join the group right now. And in the group, you can sort of continue staying in touch with us. If you, for example, decide now to start applying for this fellowship, you can ask us questions like 1 month later or later in this group. We will also share all the PPTs that we're able to share. We'll put that into the group, and we will also record this event, and we'll also share that in the group. On top of that, one of the big benefits of joining this kind of webinar is that all of these people that are here with us today are extremely knowledgeable and know a lot about Marie Curie, and are probably the people that are most capable in answering all of your questions. And that's something that this kind of participation offers. So I really encourage all of you to use the Q&A function. You can ask questions through the system here, and we will be using the section at the end of the event to go through them and answer them. So if you have any question at any time, just put it in the system. You don't need to wait. You can just put it there. We will collect the questions and ask them. There's 2 or 3 things that I want you to keep in mind when you're asking questions. Number 1, make it clear who you're asking. You know, are you asking Lily or any of the testimonies, etc. Number 2, if you are speaking, if you are like, make sure that the question is clear, like what is the thing that you're trying to do. If you want to ask questions in Chinese, that's more than okay. A lot of the presentations today will be in Chinese. We will have presentations from the testimonies at the second half of the webinar. They are all going to be in Chinese. And so if your questions are in Chinese, it's fine. Even if you want to ask me or Lily, who is the trainer from Europe, you can also ask in Chinese, because our great colleague who started the webinar, Vanessa, is absolutely capable of translating and helping us out with the communication. So no worries. I want to mention a little bit what EURAccess is. I imagine that here today we have a lot of people that might not be very familiar with EURAccess, but EURAccess is actually a tool that could be very helpful for people like you. We are an initiative of the DGRDT, that is Research and Innovation Director General of the European Commission. And we basically help researchers all over the world to connect with the European research area. We also help researchers in Europe to connect with the rest of the world. This means that we have offices all over. We have offices in North America, in Brazil, in Japan, in Australia, India, all over. But we also have an office here in China for more than probably 14 years now, I think, since 2009. My name is Halldor Berg, and I am a country representative of EURAccess in China, alongside with my colleague Anna, who is also going to be around this webinar. And we have been running an office here for a long time. We're based here in Beijing, and we are here to help you with all kinds of things. We help European researchers that come to China, but we're also here for you. We help Chinese researchers that are interested in working with Europe. We have a network of people. We do all kinds of different events. We do training seminars like the one that we are doing today on Marie Curie. We also do events where people can meet researchers from their own field and connect with each other, or Chinese researchers can meet with European researchers. All of this is available to all of our members, and this is absolutely for free for all of you to enjoy. Our only goal is to make it easier for Chinese and European researchers to sort of work together. That is the purpose of this whole thing. I want to take a moment right now to promote a little bit an event that is coming up next month from us. This is the biggest event that we do every year, and it's called the EURAccess Science Slam. So the EURAccess Science Slam is a little science competition. Everybody are invited to send in their research project and the work that they're doing, and then if they have a really good sort of speech about it, and they have like a really nice little video to introduce their research, we will pick them and invite them to come here in Beijing and introduce their research in front of a jury. So we will have jury members from like a different research organization. We will have like people from very high level people from journals and stuff like that will come and listen to you talking about your research. Why is this a good opportunity for somebody like you? Well, like we will be discussing with the Marie Curie Fellowship here today, the first step for every researcher that wants to sort of go ahead and develop the research career is to find a way to put themselves out there and make connections, because without that, you cannot really go ahead and get these kind of fellowships. You need, for example, to be able to work with other researchers. You need to be able to find host institutions, etc. I think the EURXS Science Slam is a great opportunity for all of you to sort of start that journey. It is only 10 minutes. And the purpose of the whole talk is to basically take the research that you're working on and try to make it sound interesting. And the person that does the best job of that will win a trip to Europe. So it's a pretty high price. It's a pretty fun experience. Everybody that gets selected, they get to come to Beijing and join us here. The event this year is taking place on the 17th of June. I will be sharing the link to this in our chat box, but you can go to scienceslamchina.com to learn more. And just to show you guys how this looks like, you can take a look at our last Science Slam. We did a Science Slam in 2021. We had to cancel it last year because of COVID, of course. But in 2021, we did one in Beijing. Unfortunately, back then, we were not able to invite people to come to Beijing because it was really difficult to travel. But instead, we did it in virtual reality. So all the participants all over China, they used VR to participate. And I want to show you a quick video of that.
The sound is off as encounter.
So that was our last Science Slam that we did in 2021. This was, I think, the sixth Science Slam that we've done since 2014. We've done it many times before. And normally we don't do it in virtual reality. And thankfully, this time we don't need to do it again in virtual reality. We will actually fly everybody to Beijing to join us. So I want to invite all of you to apply at scienceslamchina.com. And you can join our winners of the Science Slam China from the past. You can see here a picture of all of them. We have had a lot of people that participated throughout the time. And here are some examples of the people that did really well. Like I said, a Science Slam is a scientific talk where researchers compete to present their work. It is like a way to show in a very fun and engaging way what you're doing, what your research is about. And this time we'll be doing it here in Beijing at the 17th of June. And it's open to all researchers in China. And if you are lucky, you might win a trip to Europe. But in any case, participating will mean that you will get a trip to Beijing and you will have this opportunity to interact and show off your research to very important people. So that is pretty great. And that's it for that. I want to go back to the Marie Curie stuff. We are going to be talking about the postdoctoral fellowship here today. And I guess the main question that people might ask themselves is the Marie Curie something for researchers in China? Well, yes, the Marie Curie is open to the whole world. It's open to researchers from all over the world, as long as they don't already live in the country that they want to go to, right? So if you're in China, you can absolutely go to anywhere in Europe. If you are already in Europe, you can go somewhere else in Europe. What you have to do, you have to find a host institution in Europe that you will apply together with. And we have already had, in 2020, we had already had 450 Chinese that got it. I guess now it's probably even more, like 500-600 people. So it's quite a lot. Also, if you are already here in China, I don't know if you realize, but you could very easily get researchers from Europe to come to your institution, because there's something that is called the Global Fellowship that allows researchers from somewhere else to come to China through the same scheme. So this is actually very interesting. Before I will introduce the main trainer of the day, I just want to mention one thing. I find that a lot of the researchers in China might have a little bit of struggle realizing how they can find a host institution in China, in Europe. You need to find a partner institution you can apply together with. And if you don't have in mind somebody that you want to work with already, I want to look encourage you to take a look at the Euraccess website. You can go to the euraccess.org or china.euraccess.org. You can go there into jobs and funding, which is a link. And over there, you can see find hosting. And if you click this button, you'll be taken to a database where you can sort of search for host institutions that are looking for people like you to apply together with. So this could be a good start in case you don't know who to apply together with. You just have to go there. You have to put in the MSCA Curie actions and you can search. And you can see like there's more than 99 institutions looking for people to work with. So that's just one thing I wanted to add before we go to the real training. Before we start, though, I would like to again thank the Marie Curie Alumni Association China chapter for the great support of today's event. We have with us here today the head of the organization, who is Dr. Zhengxuan Liu, who is actually currently a Marie Skłodowska-Curie European Fellow at the Faculty of Architecture and the Built Environment at TU Delft. And I will allow him to say a few words. Maybe Vanessa, you could introduce him really quickly, and then you and Zhengxuan, maybe you can put your screen on.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. Arthur. Oh, you.
Yeah, go ahead, Vanessa.
OK， 我们今天很荣幸呢，请到刘老师来参加我们的培训。刘老师呢，也是我们玛丽居里的研究员，然后呢，他也是我们玛丽居里校友会中国分会的主席。欢迎刘老师。
谢谢。Many thanks for the Euraccess for organizing this webinar. Good afternoon, everyone. I will take a few minutes to introduce the MCAA and some activities. To make it easier for your understanding quickly, I will present in Chinese. 大家好，今天我主要给大家介绍一下我们这个 MCAA 还有 MCAA 的相关的一个活动。我们 MCAA 的话，它是一个欧盟委员会倡导建立和支持的国际的非营利性组织。它的共同特点是正在或者说正受益于马里居里行动计划的相关项目的一个获得者。目前来讲 MCA 已经汇聚了151个国家和2万多个正式的注册用户，其中包括我们这个 MCA 的 China Chapter。然后我们目前来讲大概有2000名左右的中国学者受到过资助，其中很多已经成为中科院的院士，还有工程院院士，然后还有很多已经成为这个国家的捷青长江学者特聘教授。然后目前来讲，很多已经成为这个国家高层的海外人才项目，还有优青。我们这个 MCA China Chapter 新的理事会是去年9月份成立的，然后目前来讲有9个理事会成员。我们那个 MCA 的话，上个月4月1号举办了一个年会活动，它的本次活动我们邀请了4位的院士专家。然后还有欧盟的一些相关的一些领导者，也包括 Hardberg。然后我们这个本次年会吸引了这个20余个国家的50多个线下，还有6000多名的观众参加。然后受到了中国网、工人日报、科学网、中科学报等11家中央媒体的这个新闻报道，同时还有27个自媒体平台的转发，浏览量超过了50万人次。然后也是我们这马里居里活动的一个很有效的一个推广的一个活动。这个是我们之前组织还有参与组织的一个活动，其中包括我们地平线欧洲的青年申请研讨会，还有我们这个支持了湖南省组织的这个中国绿色智能建造国际论坛，还有这个首届的中欧 碳中和绿色发展大会，我们都参与协办支持了这些活动。然后目前来讲的话，我们这是我们其中的一些比较杰出的一些校友，部分的一个校友。然后目前来讲，我们这个经过5个月的努力，将近半年的努力吧，我们已经召集了300多个华人的马里居里学者。然后我们的微信群里面有很多已经是国家结晶长江学者等知名专家，然后大批校友获得了这个海外高层人才的一个项目。我们目前也在筹备相关的一个学术档案。这个是我们那个如何加入到我们这个 MCA 的 China Chapter 呢？首先，我们第一条件是要获批马里居里项目的相关资助。然后这是我们这个协会的马丽云的联络主任，然后马丽云老师，然后大家如果说曾经获批了马里居里项目，可以加他微信。然后，但是我们这个会员审核比较严格啊，非会员的话就建议大家不要增加。另外还有一个就是我们在5月13号。也给另外一个协会组织 CESC ES， 然后也组织了马里居里相关的一个活动，主要是英国还有法国的2个也给今天的活动邀请的这个专家，他不是一个国家的，所以不同的国家有不同的特色，也希望大家感兴趣的可以关注一下。好，今天因为这个时间关系，我不占用大家太多时间，主要的还是邀请这个我们今天这个给我们分享马里居里博士后的老师来给我们分享。然后大家有什么问题也可以向他们积极的去提问。然后另外的话，希望大家能够关注 Eurogsize 还有我们这个 MCA China Chapter 的相关的一个活动。这是 Eurogsize 还有我们 MCA China Chapter 的公众号，很多时候我们会把相关的活动内容发到公众号里边。然后谢谢大家，今天我就给大家分享这么多。有什么问题，我们也Heidelberg 也建了一个群，然后我们可以在群里面互相的交流跟探讨。谢谢大家，感谢。
Thank you, Zhongshan. Thank you. Thank you very much. And that brings us to like the main meat on the bone today, right? After all those welcoming words, we arrive at the main training session. We will be following this with a couple of testimonies from 2 Chinese researchers. But before that, we are very lucky to have like a true expert on the Marie Curie application phase with us today, Lily Kankaya, who is a Horizon Europe national contact point and also a senior executive at the Malta Council for Science and Technology. I say she's a true expert. I know it because we worked with her before, and she's extremely good. She had we were so fortunate to have her with us in our previous webinars as well, and she's very good. So she is going to go with us sort of through the different the points of how to apply for the Marie Curie postdoctoral fellowship. Thank you very much, Lily, for doing this with us today. Maybe we can switch the screen so you can share your presentation, and meanwhile Vanessa could like really quickly mention who you are.
Yeah, okay. 今天我们也很荣幸邀请到了 Lily Kankaya 女士。然后莉莉女士呢，她是欧洲地平线欧洲，这是我们非常重要的一个项目，地平线欧洲国家联络点的联络员，然后同时她也是马耳他科学技术委员会的高级执行官。欢迎 Lily。Okay, you can proceed.
Yes. Hello, good afternoon. Good afternoon to the whole China, and good morning to those that are based in Europe. So thank you very much for the introduction and for inviting me for second year to deliver this training session to the Chinese community. I'm very pleased to help as much as I can to share my knowledge. As I have been introduced, I'm a national contact point for Horizon Europe, and particularly for Marie Skłodowska-Curie actions for, I think, nearly 7 years now. So I'll be very happy to share my knowledge. So today I have 2 presentations for you. And first, I will start with general introduction on Marie Skłodowska-Curie actions and in particular the postdoctoral fellowship call. Then I'll go to some details, how to apply, how to find the a host, what common mistakes usually participants do, applicants do. I'll have a very short introduction to a scheme that we have here in Malta that supports foreign researchers to come over. And at the end, I'll give you some hints and some tips on how to prepare your successful application. So just a general introduction. Marie Skłodowska-Curie Action is part of the Horizon Europe program. Horizon Europe program is the biggest program for research and innovation in Europe. It has a budget of around 95 billion euros and is open to the world, as it has been mentioned. And Marie Skłodowska-Curie Actions is part of the excellent science pillar, the first pillar. So what is particular for all the type of Marie Skłodowska-Curie Actions is that they provide excellent research opportunities and career development for all researchers. It's open to the world, any nationality, any age, and it's also very international, intersectoral, interdisciplinary. It's completely bottom up, okay? So any excellent idea is suitable for funding. It provides very attractive working and employment conditions as well. And we'll go in a bit details after. Just to mention that today, of course, the topic is the postdoctoral fellowships, but there are also other opportunities that MSCA, that we call it in short, provides. So there is opportunity for PhD students, okay, to be enrolled in a PhD program, which is the doctoral networks. Co-fund provides opportunities for both PhD students and postdocs. And then we have staff exchanges, which is for already employed staff, where they would have, as the name says, staff exchanges between the existing staff. And the last one, this is just a funding scheme for this big science festival that is happening at the end of September in all around Europe. And to come to the main point, the postdoctoral fellowships that we are going to discuss today. So there are two types of postdoctoral fellowships, the European one and the global fellowships. As it was mentioned before, the European one will be the one suitable for you, for those researchers that would like to do their postdoc studies in a European country, okay? And the global fellowship is, on the other hand, for the European researchers that maybe would like to come to China, and maybe some of you might be acting as a supervisor there. So it has two roles, okay? So it's a mono-beneficiary action, meaning that it's you and the host organization, okay, and the supervisor. So we'll have the researcher, the postdoc, who must have already the PhD degree awarded, or else at least justify the thesis at that time, and needs to have not more than 8 years full-time research experience after the date after the PhD has been awarded, okay? And the key here is full-time. So you need to identify the host entity, which can be any university, but it can be also a non-academic organization. There are quite a lot of companies in Europe that are performing research, and they do have quite good supervisors there too. So it's also open not only for universities, but for non-academic sector too. It's completely bottom up, okay? And the one important thing to be eligible is that the country, let's say you are the researcher that you are applying in a European country, the country that you are choosing to apply, you have identified the host entity and the supervisor, and they have agreed to support you. But in that country, you should have not spent more than 12 months in the last 3 years prior the call deadline. And the call deadline is 13th September this year. So you should not be a resident there, or not for longer than these 12 months in the last 3 years. If you have just been living in China, you have no, of course, you are respecting the mobility rule. It's important to say that there is one proposal per researcher, okay? So the postdoc can only apply with one proposal, with one host entity and supervisor. However, if you would like to act as a supervisor, you can host as many and apply as many researchers as you want to. I have included there the link to the call, okay? You will receive all the presentations, so you will be able to access all these links at later stage. Now, what's the duration of the funding? For the European Fellowship, it's between 12 to 24 months. usually people do apply for the maximum duration of 24 months. And since recent years, since the last 2 years, there is a novelty. You can add another 6 months, so it will be 30 months in total, only if you have spent the last 6 months in a non-academic sector. Okay, so if the last 6 months you go and perform the research, your postdoc, in an entity that is non-academic, this entity should be based in Europe or associated country. So associated country, there is a list of this kind of countries. So Europe meaning the member states, okay? And associated countries are those countries that have agreement with the European Union. And there is a full list of these countries, but it's usually Turkey, Israel, there is quite a few, okay? But there is a list available online. Now, what can you do? You have identified your host entity and your supervisor, but that, let's say, is not enough for a very good application. You should add secondments, non-academic placements, short trips. And let me explain briefly what are those. So a secondment is you will go to another entity, can be in the same, another organization, can be in the same country that you are applying, but it can be also in a different country. And it can be, this different country can be even China, okay? It can be around the world country, it's worldwide country. And you spend up to 1/3 of the duration of the fellowship in this secondment country. It can be split. Maybe you can go at one go and spend, let's say, 8 months, or else you can go for 1 month or 2 months, then go back. But there must be some purpose behind this secondment. Maybe is a training, some kind of skill that the supervisor from there has, which your supervisor does not have, or some kind of equipment that you need to use, or some kind of data that you need to access. So there must be a purpose, has to be justified. And the non-academic placement, which in short we call NEP, is this 6 months at the end. Recent statistics shows that those that have NEP have a bit higher success rate than the others. So I do recommend to look in that option as well. And of course, you can have short trips. These short trips can be related again to attend some training maybe, or to access some kind of data. All this is funded, okay? Everything is 100% funded by the European Commission. There is something which we call the ERA fellowships. So if you apply for a country that is a widening country, we call in the program those new member states in the European Union, and those that are a bit less performing in terms of research and innovation. For example, Malta is one of these countries. Malta, Turkey, again, there is quite a few. Then you have a second chance in your application. So if your application is not approved directly from the European Commission, from the Marie Skłodowska-Curie Action Fund, and if you agree that your application will be transferred to this ERA fellowship, automatically with no another evaluation, is the best application, the best rank there are going to be funded. So it's just a second chance for you applicants. Also, there is something that the applications that receive more than 85%, okay, the score is between up to 100, of course. And if you receive more than 85, there are some countries that would have national funding to fund your postdoc. You won't be called a Marie Skłodowska-Curie Action Fellow though, but anything is the same. You know, I mean, the funding, the research that you're proposing is just also another additional chance for you. This postdoctoral fellowship call is already open, so you can already access the templates, and I'll show you a bit later how. And you can start thinking and looking for supervisors if you didn't find one yet. The deadline is on the 13th September, 5 o'clock Brussels time, is very important. Do not never submit in the last moment, because this is the most popular call of the program, of the Horizon Europe program. So the system sometimes is being overloaded. So never wait until the last day. And it's important also to mention that maybe some of you have already applied last year. If you would like to resubmit, you won't be allowed if your score was less than 70. Okay, so this is very important. You will be ineligible if you received less than 70 in the 2022 call. And also the funding, as I mentioned, is 100% funded and is based on unit costs. So it is simplified. I have somewhere the table. Here is the table. So these are the unit costs. So 1 unit is 1 month. If you apply for 24 months, for example, the system will automatically calculate the budget. Now, the living allowance, mobility allowance, and family allowance goes to the researchers. The living allowance, there is something that we call country correction coefficient. So depending on the country that you're choosing, there will be a percentage calculated, which can be more than that or a bit less than that. Okay, so it depends of the country you're choosing. Of course, this living allowance is important to note that you will need to pay taxes and social contributions according to the national law of the country that you have selected. You will receive a mobility allowance as well, everyone. And a family allowance is only those that do have a family, okay, like that are married or have children that are dependent on them. And also, of course, there is some costs that the host entity is going to carry, because you will maybe need consumables, you need to travel, there will be maybe need of organization of conferences and trainings and so on. Also, you might need to attend certain trainings, and of course you will need to attend trainings because this is one of the core thing in the postdoctoral fellowship. So it's all funded. Coming back to the previous slide, I just highlighted here the eligibility for the Chinese researchers. So as I mentioned, the mobility rule, you can apply in a European member state or associated country, or else the global fellowship is only for those that want to act as a supervisor. Respect the mobility rule of not living there more than 12 months in the last 3 years. You have to have identified your host entity and supervisor, of course. You have to have your PhD awarded, or you have to have by that time successfully defended thesis. This is the time we're talking is 13 September, the deadline. And you should have less than 8 years full-time research experience by the time of the deadline of the call. I have included here links to check in case you have passed these 8 years. You can check if you're still eligible by there is some way to make the self-check, because the key is a full-time. So if you have been involved in a part-time job doing research, then you might be still eligible. The secondments, as I mentioned, they're up to 1/3 of the fellowship, and they can take place anywhere in the world. So feel free even to choose China again, if it makes sense, of course, for the application. Then you're also eligible to get the additional 6 months, which are the last 6 months. So to get the funding up to 30 months. This is only in a member state or associated country, and short trips are allowed around the world. This we spoke about. Just some statistics, because the last call had a very high success rate of more than 70%. In previous years, the success rate was less, like 14, 15%. So funding is also increasing, and I encourage you to apply. As already mentioned, there is a lot of Chinese researchers coming and choosing Europe for their postdocs. How to apply? So everything is being done through the Funding and Tenders Opportunities portal, which only if you type in Google Funding and Tenders Opportunities portal, it will come up directly. But don't worry, even if not, I have the link, which will get you directly to the call page. You will need to register. Simple registration with email and password. and you are ready to go. What is the actual application? So you have two parts, part A and part B. Part A, this is administrative information. Who are you? Who is the supervisor? Where is the entity? What is the duration? This kind of administrative data. And part B is the actual proposal. You have to explain there the excellence, impact, and implementation of your research idea. The part B, and the part B is also structured into B1 and B2, but the main narrative part is 10 pages limit, okay? And it's very important that you cannot submit 11 because the last pages will be just automatically removed. So you have to stick to the page numbers. And this is how it looks when you entered. After you log in and you click on Start Submission, this screen will show up. And on the left side down, you will see Download Part B templates. So you can already do that. You can already log in and download these templates. So as I mentioned, there is Part B1 and Part B2. Part B1 is a template which you follow, okay? There are instructions there, there are subheadings, but the main sections are excellence, impact, and implementation. And this is 10 pages. And then you have the part B2, which is, there is no page limit. There you have to include your CV and also the capacity of the participating organization. Basically, there will be a table there to explain the host organization, the infrastructure available there, the experience they have, and so on. And this is a bit more detail on what exactly is the award criteria. So under each one of these excellence, impact, and implementation, you will find these subheadings, which you will need to go through. Each one of them has instructions, very detailed instructions. Of course, you have to delete the instructions from the template, but you have to follow them. It's very, very important. And the excellence is the most important part. If you score very good on it, of course, you have to score very good in all three, because this is very competitive call. So you have to try your best to score as much as possible in each one of the sections. I just want to show you a quick video. And then we'll continue with the presentation.
What is MSCA? The Marie Sklodowska-Curie Actions are the European Union's reference funding program for doctoral education and postdoctoral training. If you hold a PhD and wish to pursue your career in research in another country, why not apply to the MSCA? Submit your own postdoctoral research project. Calls for postdoctoral fellowships are published every year and are open to researchers in all fields of research and from all countries of the world. You will need to submit an application jointly with the host organization of your choice. Who can apply? The MSCA postdoctoral fellowships are open to excellent researchers, including researchers wishing to return to Europe or restart their career in research. There are two types of postdoctoral fellowships. European fellowships will allow you to do research in an EU member state or in a country associated to Horizon Europe, regardless of your nationality. Global fellowships will allow you to do research mostly outside Europe with a mandatory return to an EU member state or to a country associated to Horizon Europe. You may only apply if you are a national or a long-term resident of one of these countries. In both cases, just remember these two rules. You should do your research in a different country to the one where you are currently living or working. Check carefully the specific rules. In general, you should have less than 8 years of experience as a researcher since the award of your PhD, although some exceptions apply. Apply for existing postdoctoral positions. Another way to become an MSCA postdoctoral fellow is to apply for one of the MSCA co-fund postdoctoral vacancies published all year round on the Euraccess portal. Check the requirements of the position of your interest and apply directly to the university or organization advertising it. What are the employment conditions? The MSCA offer an attractive salary and good working conditions. Your future host organization will recruit you. Your contract will include a monthly allowance covering your salary and travel costs and social security coverage. Depending on your situation, you might also be entitled to a family allowance if you have a partner or children, a special needs allowance if you have a disability, a long-term leave allowance if the need arises. The MSCA will also finance your training, research and networking activities. What are the benefits? As an MSCA Fellow, you will receive advanced training, acquire new skills and improve your career prospects. You will also gain new international experience and exposure to other disciplines and sectors. You may even have short placements in other countries and experience outside academia. If you need help to prepare your application or have a question about the requirements, you can reach out to the MSCA National Contact Point of your country or contact the Marie Curie Alumni Association. Apply now and join the MSCA community. Best of luck.
This was just a short introduction to the call and a summary of what I just explained before. I have the link as well that you can refer after. Now, the deadline of the call, as I mentioned, it's 13 September. And you will receive the results if you apply this year in February next year. Okay, so in the meantime, there will be administrative check, there will be evaluation. The evaluation is done by at least 3 external evaluators. It's not done by the commission as such. They hire these 3 external evaluators, and then you receive the results in February. If you're selected for funding, then the host organization will be signing a grant agreement, which usually it can take less time, but it can take up to 3 months. Okay, so that's why they say that then you can start your postdoc in June. But it's not necessary that you need to start it right away. You can even postpone it a bit. Usually they give a bit more than 1 year for the start date. It's up to you to choose. You want to start right away, or you would prefer to start a bit later on. And the budget is for this year's call is 260 million euros. How to find a host? Okay, if you're a researcher that would like to do the postdoc, you might have your own network already established, someone that you have cooperated in the past through another project, or maybe someone that you met in a conference or whatever. That's absolutely fine. And actually it works very well if you already know someone. If no, Euroaccess is there, as it was mentioned. And the link that I included here is directly the link that will bring you to the host offers. Then we have the MSc Net project, but actually they have now just decided that they will not upload the host offers anymore. Instead, they will be using the MSCA matchmaking platform. I suggest to you that after this presentation, when you receive it, you will go and click on that link and register, because there are opportunities in that matchmaking platform for both researchers that are looking for host, and also for researchers that would like to host other researchers, acting as supervisors. So you just upload your profile there, and you can see already available ones. Of course, also there is the funding and tenders portal, which I mentioned. Under the call, when you click, there are some already expressing interest to host researchers. So you might look even there. And I have also included our page of Euroaccess Malta with host offers from Malta. What are the common mistakes that usually applicants do? Okay, so very often they confuse the Global Fellowship and the European Fellowship. As I said, the European Fellowship is for researchers coming to Europe, or it can be even researchers from Europe to Europe, okay? But the Global Fellowship is the one only for the European researchers moving around the world, out of Europe. Okay, so when you apply, this is the first thing you will be asked. When you click on the Start Submission button, you have to select, is it the Global Fellowship or the European Fellowship? What also some applicants do is that they confuse the researcher and the supervisor. These are two different persons. Of course, the researcher will be the postdoc, and the supervisor will be the one who will be more knowledgeable, more experienced than you, and will be hosting you at the entity. Sometimes there is a lot of missing information as well. And recently with the new introduction to the non-academic placement, people also confuse the non-academic placement and the secondments and the short visits too. This is how it looks when you start filling the part A, the administrative forms. And here is important to mention that you include the host entity, okay, there, and only you can include the non-academic placement. The secondments you do not include here as part of the participating entities. And if you want to include, if you have secondments, of course, you will need to provide the information about where is the organization of the secondment, and this you do it only in part B, the text format of the application, where you have a specific table, and also within the text, in the part of, especially of the excellence, you need to explain why and how this secondment is going to benefit you and the research that you are doing. And this is what I just mentioned now. And also there are quite a lot of mistakes when it comes to the budget. As I said, the budget is automatically calculated, but it's very important that you choose the right country. For example, if you're applying in Germany, you select Germany, and the budget will be calculated automatically. Very often, for example, we have someone who is applying for a European fellowship and is, for example, selecting China. And this is, of course, wrong, and everything will come automatically mistaken. Just few words about PF to MT, and what is that? This is something that we start doing on a yearly basis in Malta. We invite all those foreign researchers coming from no matter another European country or from China or from around the world to come and attend a master class, which will be specifically on postdoctoral fellowship proposal writing in Malta. So we are going to cover the travel expenses for the researchers to come over physically, attend the training on 12th July. However, the condition is that, of course, you need to have already identified host organization from Malta and a supervisor from here in order to be eligible for this funding. And the funding is 800 euros for those that travel from Europe to Europe, and 2,000 euros for those that are traveling from any other country around the world. And it's a lump sum, okay? So we give you the money. We don't reimburse based on the actual cost. So you receive the full amount, as long you will receive the 50% of the full amount after you attend the training, and the remaining 50% only after you submit the proposal. It's important, yes, to mention that, of course, I will check the administrative requirements, basically, if you have the PhD awarded, if you have found the host, and all kind of these conditions related to the MSCA Postdoctoral Fellowship call. And I have just included here the link to this call page, which is a very short and simple application page. Now, this slide is a very important slide for you. If you intend to apply for postdoctoral fellowship, here you have a lot of useful links, which you have to go through and pay attention to them. So we have the work program, okay, where the call is described with details. We have the MSCA webpage, where you will find a lot of information, again, about even funded projects and so on. the call page where you can start submitting your application, the guide for applicants, very important, okay? It's a short document, but it's very, very important. The matchmaking platform that I mentioned also has a lot of other useful materials. You can find all the national contact points around the world in the other link, the Euro access, of course, and then the handbook. The handbook is very, very important. If you get the handbook while you are preparing your application and follow the suggestions there, it's very likely that you, and of course you have to have an excellent research idea, then it's very likely you will succeed. So this handbook is just suggestions of tips and tricks, what to include under each section. And then I have included just the link on the host entities to Malta. And for those that don't know Malta, a short video representing the research landscape here. And that's the first presentation. Okay, you have my contact. You can contact me with any questions, even after the presentation. But now I would like to proceed with the second one, which is also important for those that are planning to apply for the postdoctoral fellowship call, because here I have structured some specific hints and suggestions on how to have a successful presentation. So I have structured it with a bit general tips and then with few more specific ones for each of the sections. So general. It's very important that you understand the call, okay? And you have to understand what is required and you know, what is listed there. What is the evaluation criteria? Because you have to prepare your proposal according to it. You have to review all the supporting documents that are available, most of which I listed there, but there are other ones as well. You have to start filling the part A as early as possible, part A, the administrative part, because although it looks like very simple, there might be some questions that you wouldn't know the answer. So start preparing it as early as possible. In many host entities, you get help for that, and the administrative staff of the supervisor will be doing their job. But just in case, you need to know as well. You have to download the correct Part B templates, okay? Because some people, let's say they have a friend or colleague who applied previously in the same call. They give them the application to follow, for example, to learn from it and so on, and they just use this old format, and the evaluators will right away understand that you did not download the correct latest templates. As I mentioned, the template has a lot of instructions. You have to remove them, of course, because otherwise the 10 pages are already absorbed. But do not remove the headings, okay? Each template has headings with titles. Do not remove them because it is not allowed. Also, it's very important that you have to make this application a bit visually attractive. So it's good to use some images, highlight some important text, use some italics, you know, it has to be a bit attractive for the eye as well, because evaluators don't have much time, okay? You have to understand that evaluators have only half a day or 4 hours to review the full application form. So they will go mostly into the first paragraph, let's say the first sentence of each paragraph. Then if they find the proposal attractive, they will go in more details. Respect the page limit, as I said, because any additional page will be just automatically deleted. And know that the minimum font size is 11, okay? You cannot use very, very tiny text that is not readable. So what else? You have to look in the call objectives, and you have to use some words from there. You know, it's a tip to take some of what is expected from the Commission and somehow put it into your proposal. Of course, you should show that your project is going to contribute to the expected outcomes and impacts. You have to be very innovative, very clear, very concise as well. And as I said, it's very good to have secondments, non-academic placements, and short visits, because this will enrich somehow the international, intersectoral, interdisciplinary as well aspects of your proposal. And as I mentioned, is a requirement to have at least one supervisor. However, you can, and I would suggest that you include co-supervisors. Co-supervisors might come from the same host entity, but additional from the same host entity. But if you have a secondment, you will need to include a supervisor from the hosting entity there too, or a non-academic placement, and these will be co-supervisors. Also, think of some attractive project acronym and title. And there is a way to check, for example, the funded projects until now, and you can see their acronyms. There is no rule that you cannot repeat the same acronym, but of course, it's better if you have your own original title and acronym. And as I said, don't submit in the last day, because you might regret, because maybe the system will be down, and submit before. If you come up with some changes, you want to change something, you can. Up to the call deadline, you can make changes, and only the last version will be taken in consideration. So something that I learned as well is to respect this criteria formula, which is use citations, mention some resources there, be interesting and inspiring, be tangible and specific, okay? So not just general talk, you have to be specific. Use some encapsulations and who, why, where, when, and this included in the abstract, okay? You can restructure the template, but as I said, do not remove the main headings, the titles, but you can add additional ones, like for example, 1.1, and then you have 1.1, 1.1.1, and so on. You know, this is a good way to add a new subtitle there, and just the subtitles will show what the text is going to include. Use illustrations, and as I said, aesthetics like bold, highlight, and so on, just to make it visually attractive. And also, you know, it's like you have to convince the evaluators, you have to sell this project idea. Why is you important to do this research? Why now? Why there? You have to speak interestingly as well, because you have to market it very well. You have to sell it. As I said, be tangible. So for example, when you mention, I'm going to have this publication, how many publications, where, when, you know, you have to be very specific and answer all the questions that are indicated in the template, because the evaluators have to score according to that. So they would have a score sheet, and the score sheet is based exactly on the subheadings there of the template. So if you have a missing one, if you instead you just left it out or included some other information, you'll be penalized in your score about that. And as I said, very important, the most important parts of your proposal should be in the first sentence of each paragraph. Use keywords, mention the MSCA Green Charter and the MSCA Guidelines on Supervision. Get familiarized a bit with them, okay? I included the links. And also it's very important that you plan your career ahead. What will happen beyond this postdoc once it's finished? What are your career opportunities? Mention them there. It's important. And how this fellowship is going to change your career as well. So some specific tips now on the excellence. You have to demonstrate that your idea is ambitious, okay? Not extreme ambitious, but it has to be ambitious. And there is a section where you have to describe the state of art. Do add how the project is going to go beyond the state of the art, okay? your methodology has to take into consideration these interdisciplinary aspects. It's not always the case that there will be interdisciplinary proposals, but it is very nice when you can mix different disciplines here. It's important, and now lately the Commission is paying a lot of attention to the gender dimension and open science practices. Okay, so you have to describe those in the proposal. Refer to previously funded projects. So there is this website called Cordis, for example. If you just type Cordis, it will come up. In there you will find all the funded projects of the European Commission. Have a look and see if your idea is already being done there. If it is like that, highlight, for example, mention this project that has been funded, but my project is going to do this and this more, or is going to use these results of this previously funded project to do something else. And refer to some data, statistics, and so on. I mentioned the gender dimension, which is increasingly getting important. And many people do confuse gender balance and gender dimension. So quickly to explain, the gender balance is the team members, okay, of the team, the gender of the supervisor and yourself. While gender dimension is something that will have an effect to the to different community groups. Your research is going to affect somehow the different community groups. So just think about it. Like, let's say, for example, analyzing certain data might affect female participants more than male, or certain ethnicity group. I don't know, but it might have different aspects. Even if there is no gender dimension in your proposal, you have to mention in the application, there are no gender dimension, we considered, but there are no. So like that, the evaluators will know that you have thought about it. What about impact? For impact, very often applicants confuse communication, dissemination, and exploitation. So there is a particular section where you have to describe each one of them. And do not, they will ask you to include like a draft plan. Include a draft plan for each one of them separately, okay? Not one for all. And what is the difference between communication and dissemination, for example? Communication is you generally promote or you speak to someone about your project, okay? Like general, it can be also a Facebook page that is open to public or the website that is open to public. It's just general communication. While the dissemination is when you have a result already as part of your project. When you have some results, you have to disseminate them to specific audience. So this might be the researchers, this might be policymakers, but it's to a specific target group and is certain results of the project. You have to include short-term impacts and long-term impacts. So the short-term impacts will be during the duration of the fellowship. Okay, how this project will have impact over, I don't know, it can be technological, economical, societal impact. And the long term will be after, okay? So think a bit after the end of the project too. You have to be very specific when you're mentioning the events, because you will need to list a number of events that you will be organizing together with your host entity, or a number of events that you're going to attend, a number of trainings that you're going to attend as well, publications and so on. Just specify where there will be, when, how many people are more or less expected. Of course, this is just estimation. Don't worry, but you have to be specific and include these numbers. Include the Open Research Europe. Okay, this is a recent platform of the European Union, which is free and you can have your publications there for free. So mention it might give you some additional points. The Horizon magazine is just a free communication tool as well. Another very important thing for the impact is that the impacts have to have also some kind of link to policy, you know, what is expected, what is on the policy agenda of the European Union, or the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So mention your project. Is it linking to any of them? And if yes, to which one? You can have a look in the links in order to learn more about the EU missions. There are 5 missions, and there are details there in the link. So this is what I was just saying. Learn about the priorities of the European Commission, and then try to bring them down to the specific call and your proposal. What about implementation? So in the implementation, you have to demonstrate the quality of your work plan. So here you have to describe the work packages, the resources. Now, if there are, for example, secondments and non-academic placements, the interaction between them, were they working before together, who is doing what, and so on. As work packages, we usually recommend not to have too many work packages, but you need to have one work package that will deal with management of the project. Here you will need to include some tasks related to reporting to the European Commission, meeting with your supervisor, and so on. Another work package for communication, dissemination, and exploitation. If there are ethics issues in your research, also include the work package there. And then 2 to 3 specific work packages that relate to your research, okay, the technical work packages. Another thing that is important to say is that every work package, because in the work package, it goes into more details then. You will explain what is the work package, the tasks, the deliverables, and the milestones. And every work package would need to have at least one deliverable and at least one milestone. And what is a deliverable and what is a milestone is also sometimes being confused, but a deliverable is actually, it might be a report, okay, something that you need to upload in the system, and something like more like tangible. While a milestone is, you just reach the milestone, you manage to achieve something. For example, you collected certain data, so that's a milestone. Without this data, you cannot proceed further to the actual project. So that's more or less the difference. And here also in this section, you're going to be asked to include a Gantt chart, and this Gantt chart is highlighting again the work packages and tasks and so on. But be very careful, because very often applicants include some details in this Gantt chart, in this table, and completely different in the text before that. So make sure that they match. I mean, it might be something minor that is different, but the evaluators will spot it. Like, for example, you are saying that you will organize a midterm conference in month 15 in the text, but in the table it shows month 12, for example. They will spot that. They are looking for that, so be careful. And also include some risks and their likelihood. It's not feasible if you don't have any risks. You have to mention them. Say, is it medium, low, high likelihood of happening? But then say what you're going to do if this risk actually occurs. And one last thing, which is actually very important when you are preparing research proposals for the European Commission, including Marie Skłodowska-Curie actions, but it might not, might be on different calls, that is very useful if you are evaluator yourself. So register in that link and just include your CV there. Evaluators can be from all around the world. and they might call you and pay, of course, to you for evaluating proposals. So I suggest you to apply there too. And again, that's my contacts, and that was it with my presentation. Of course, I'll be open for any questions that you might have. I think later on we'll have the Q&A. Maybe first we'll have the testimonials, but I leave it in your hands for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lily. What an excellent presentation. There was actually a lot of questions. We will wait until we get the testimonies. There are actually also all these questions on the VChat group that people are asking. And I want to encourage everybody on the VChat group to bring it to the Zoom so we could have it all in one place when we're answering it, specifically so we can have it translated correctly for Lily to also understand, etc. But before we get to that, I would like to introduce the next speakers. And to do that, I will be sharing my screen. First, though, a lot of people were complaining that the WeChat group was over 200 people and you could therefore not enter it. Well, we have 70 extra spaces in our old WeChat group. So if you want to join us there, you can scan this QR code here. This one here will take you to the one from last year, and there should be some space there. I hope that's going to be enough. If not, we have to find another way. So please feel free to scan this. Let's give it maybe a moment and you can join the VChat group there. But in the meantime, I want to introduce our next two speakers who are going to be bringing testimonies. They're both here because of the Marie Curie Alumni Association, who sort of provided us with some testimonies today. For those of you that are not Chinese, unfortunately, they will be speaking in Chinese for this part. But that's because most of the participants today are actually Chinese speakers. And we thought if we would have the main presentation in English, it would be fine if we would have the other one in Chinese, right? Because everybody would get something. But that is actually really good because we will be able to provide everybody with a little bit of an insight into how it is to be actually a Chinese researcher coming to Europe, participating in this fellowship. So I think that's extremely good. We have with us two postdocs, and we're going to be starting with the one on the right here on the screen, which is Dr. Cuo Chen, who is a Marie Curie postdoctoral fellow at the University of Oulu, which is in Finland, if I'm not wrong, supervised by Professor Hannu Marttila. I would like to invite Dr. Chen to sort of share her screen right now, and maybe Vanessa could also introduce her.
Yeah, OK. 今天我们也很荣幸请到了陈佐思南老师。然后陈佐思南博士，他也是我们玛丽居里博士后的研究员。然后我们也很荣幸请到他，欢迎。You can proceed.
Okay, thank you. Good. Okay. So thank you, Haldo and Anna, Liu Zhuxi, for organizing this, and also thank you for Lily's presentation, for introduce almost everything. So I will speak Chinese from now. 大家好，我很高兴也很荣幸今天能有这个机会在这里和大家分享一下我这个玛丽居里博士后奖学金的申请经验。但与其说是经验的分享，不如说是一个经历的分享吧，因为我也知道在座的很多听众啊，这个科研背景和成果肯定都比我还要优秀，所以接下来我要讲的内容呢，就是希望能够帮助大家少走一些弯路吧。首先我介绍一下关于我的一些故事。我是本硕博都是在北京的北京林业大学这个进行的，就是期间是没有海外的教育这个背景，就是没有比如说 CSC 的这种国际学术交流的经历。那我是在2020年6月博士毕业。 我的研究的主要内容呢是针对一些温带的森林，然后进行一些生态水文学的研究。具体来说呢，就是研究森林和树木怎么用水，主要用到的技术呢是树干叶流技术。那接下来我会讲为什么就是你理清自己的这个，就是其实是对选择我这个 host 的感觉是非常的重要，当然我也很幸运啊。然后在博士毕业的那几个月呢，我和奥鲁大学取得了联系，然后我们就开始构思点子，同时呢，我也了解当地的森林和水文情况。接下来的几个月呢，我就是参加了奥鲁大学针对玛丽居里的培训。之前其实我对这个项目就是闻所未闻，只是就是他们突然提出来，哎，我们一起申请一下，行不行？我说，哎，那就申请一下吧。然后期间呢，我也是阅读了就是10几份，就是像刚才丽丽提到的那些链接呀、文件，我就全部都看了一遍。就是像我之前因为没有在欧洲申请这些的经验嘛，所以其实很多东西对我来说都比较新，虽然很痛苦，但是我后来再回过头来看的话，这些东西都非常的重要。同时我也阅读了大量的这种新领域的文献，那我就是看了一下这个寒带森林啊，然后这种纯水文学，因为这边的这个 host 呢，它是一个组，它不是做森林水不是做生态水文学的，它是纯水文学。然后之前我也没有做过这个树木水分来源，同时也没有就是使用过这个稳定水同位素的技术，所以这些东西都是比较新的东西。但是也就是花了大量的精力来看这些东西，然后同时也是进行了写作。那到了2020年9月份呢，那就是第一次申请了这个，当时还是这个应该是叫上一轮的怎么讲整个这个规划吧，当时还是叫这个玛丽居里独立研究院。然后当年呢，我是得到了91.2分，这个怎么讲 cut off score 分数线就是差一点点。但是如果你去看，因为我是这个环境学科的嘛，如果你去看这个申请人的这个百分率的话，你可以发现其实这个2点几分就其实有7%的人，所以可以看到，你一旦到了就是一定水平之后，它的整个竞争是非常激烈的，可能你差个0.1分，你就可以差很多人。那么到了2021年9月啊，我总共是一共申请了3次啊。到了2021年9月呢，就是这一年其实是决定的有点晚了，因为当时我已经继续在北京林业大学做了博后，10月中的截止日期，我9月初才开始改，然后就是其实基本上就是根据前年的意见，就是逐一修改了申请书，然后更新了一下科学部分的文献，然后就申请了。然后呢，当年的结果就，哎呀，这个我等会儿会再具体说。第二年呢，我就只拿到了75分。刚才丽丽也说了，这如果分数是到了70分以下的话，第二年是甚至都不可以重新申请的。所以这个75分，说实话是个非常低的分。我当时可以说是心态崩了有那么1、2天吧，但这个之后再说。然后到了2020年，也就是去年我是在去年春天吧来了，就已经从国内来奥鲁大学做访问学者了。然后也就是切身的来到这里学习了一些就是像上面说的这种同位素的技术啊，然后也切身的就是来到了这些寒带森林来看看这到底是什么样子。大概是在，当然时间也很紧了，其实我也是在8月下旬才真正动笔再开始改。然后同时因为这个奥鲁大学它这个所有的培训我觉得就是特别的好，它有很多的培训，就是认真的全部过了一遍，然后大改了科学部分。那这次的结果就比较好，最后是拿到了98分，就申请成功了。这也就是现在我是就是马上要进行的项目。那这个项目呢，其实就是季节性降水的改变之下呢，来看看树木的用水或者是怎么样的。同时就是来看一下寒带这是不是也可以成为是寒带森林土壤中被忽视的向上优先流。再多说几句关于我这个项目嘛，就是大家也都知道全球变暖，就大家都知道了。那么这个全球变暖其实在极地地区是较其他地区更为明显的呢。那表现方式之一呢，就是降雪和降雨模式的改变。 那么这个的改变肯定多少会影响根系从土壤吸水，进而影响一棵树如何通过蒸腾把这个水分返回大气的这个过程。那这个过程背后的机制呢，其实不是很明确。同时，这个土壤水分运移啊，在水文学过程中是一个非常重要的一个过程。那其中有个概念就是这个优先流，或者说一个快速流。但是呢，目前的研究就鲜有将这个雨后或者是无雨期间树木用水对它的这个影响的一些分析就比较少，所以我就提出了一个，这个过程是不是忽视了？同时还有就是我也挑战了，或者说是期待能验证一下，对于树木水分来源这个研究的一个比较基础的一个假设吧，就是树木这个体内的水分运移过程中是同位素的，这个水同位素是没有分流的，就希望我的研究结果是可以得到验证。好，这个大概就是我的故事吧。然后接下来，就是我们来讲一讲，就是作为来自中国的申请人需要注意点什么。像刚才在 Lily 的这个介绍中，其实已经讲得很详细了，包括整个本子的结构和一些这个评审的要求。然后网上其实大家也可以找到很多培训的资料啊，包括如果你已经选好了 host 的话，可能他们学校里也会有很多的培训。关于这个，就总而言之，就是大家可以去看那个官方指南和模板里的要求，包括你也刚才其实 Lily 的，我现在回过头来看 ，Lily 里面讲的每一条都非常的务实，大家只要把自己的申请书的每一个字、每一句话全部满足他们的要求，就一定可以取得比较好的结果。那我接下来就开始直接列我的一些这个体会了。就是需要额外注意的一些事项，像我就会直接跳过1.1，1.1其实就是这个科学部分，但我相信在座的各位都已经身经百战，也非常优秀了，所以我就不具体说这个科学部分你怎么把它做到最前沿了。那就从1.2开始说，刚才这个Lily 也提到了，就是在1.2部分会有一个性别维度或者是比如说多样性方面的一段叙述，包括这个 Open Science 这些东西在我们国内的我应该是从来没有看到过有这些，但是在这个申请书里是必须要有的。但同时你也要照实写。比如说对我来说，我的这个项目是一个研究树怎么用水的，那这怎么能和比如说性别平等联系起来呢？就是其实是不好写，但是你又必须得写。那其实我就想到了一条是，我这个研究做完了以后，我们是会出一个共享数据集的。那有了共享数据集，那其实来自全球不同国家、不同性别的所有研究者都是可以获取这个数据，进行就是再次的研究。所以这个是有助于进行这个性别平等和多样性的这个一个手段，所以就写进去了。那么再下一个就是到了1.3，1.3的话，是关于如何提高申请人和 host 的科研能力。如果大家就是阅读了整个申请指南，大家可以发现，就是这个玛丽居里，我感觉他除了追求的科研卓越以外，很重要的就是他希望申请人和 host 的科研能力能够共同双向的提高。所以在这部分，就是在我看来，我是清楚的列出了我有哪些背景是我的 host 没有的，那 host 是有哪些背景和技术是我不会的。然后列完了以后，我再说，那这些我们双方没有的技能是通过1、2、3怎样的培训？比如说，我可以说我给这边的同事们开展一些这个比如说做几个演讲，交流一下我的这个技术。那同时 host 也会给我开展一些培训，就是一定要保证这个是双向的。那到了2.2的时候，就有一个这个dissemination and exploitation and communication plan。这个是国内没有记错的话，应该是我也是没有见到过有这个东西。但是像不管是玛丽居里还是别的欧盟一些国家的项目，其实都会有涉及这个部分，而且还挺重要的。大家 所以这个呢，就一定要去阅读指南，你要去清楚的了解这3个词其实是完全不同的词，他们针对的其实是不同的群体，你可用的手段也是不同的，预期的成果也是完全不同。如果你在就是下笔写的时候，你发现我可能心里构思的一些计划好像放在这个 dissemination 也可以，放在 communication 也可以，那如果这个事情发生了，那我感觉大概率可能还是定义没有太区分开。我感觉比如说这个第一个其实是一个传播，更像是对你科研成果的一个传播，那你这个针对的群体基本上就是还是你在这个学术界的一些同事。对于第二个开发，那针对的群体我理解啊，一般就是政策相关，比如说这个政策制定者呀，或者是利益相关方，你怎么把你的一些科研成果给传播到他们这个系统里。那对于 communication 呢，更多是针对于比如说是年轻的，比如说高中生啊，或者就是普通的这个老百姓，或者就是在网上进行一些传播，所以他们针对的群体肯定是不同的。那这个呢，我其实当时也是一度很痛苦，但是就是奥鲁大学是有专门针对这个的培训，我也是花了很多的时间来研究这个，然后感觉是最后写的还是应该可以吧。那最后动笔的时候呢，就是我感觉大家是一定要想方设法利用好大家自己以及 host 这个 host 包括导师和整个学校所有的人脉。比如说在我的这个申请书中，我提到了这个奥鲁大学他们自己有一个媒体的这个系统，它可以支持我的项目传播。那我的导师和这个导师团队呢，他们也和芬兰水资源和森林资源的一些管理机构也是有联系的。那这样的话，我就在这个开发这个部分就写了。那我有些成果出来了之后，我可以把它写成一些，比如说政策简报啊，然后发布给或者是发送给，或者是就是甚至和这些水资源、森林资源的这些机构开会，一起来撰写一个政策简报。同时大家也不要忘记了大家个人的这个亲朋好友的这一些人脉。比如我的话，当时是我在前2年吧，我突然发现我一个朋友的朋友，他是一个咱们中国一个 NGO 叫做极地未来的一个创始人吧。这个极地未来大家一听也就知道，他肯定是关注极地地区的一些事情，关于雪啊、冰川，突然发现就和我很对口，所以我把这个也写进去了。那就是说我以后有了科研成果以后，我也可以借鉴他们的平台来进行一些传播。所以大家这些所有能想到的尽量都利用起来了。另外一个是关于如何使用社交媒体的，然后包括在预期成果部分。当然什么叫做预期成果啊，什么叫做科研或者项目的结果呀，什么叫做项目的影响啊，大家也都是最好好的就是阅读一下申请书，都是不同的意思。然后那对于预期成果，它其中其实包含了 KPI 什么意思，就是你要数字化你的最后的这些指标。比如说社交媒体，我里面就写了，我可能要写一些在某些账号上写一些科普文，那我最后的阅读量，比如说每年或者是平均每个月要达到400啊500，就是你写进去之后，申请到人就知道，你这是有清晰的计划的，你也是可实现的。那如果大家在要申请玛丽居里了，然后未来的长期发展也是打算在比如说欧洲或者是国外的话，我甚至建议大家可以提前开账号或者维护账号来进行一些基础的，比如说你这些人脉的构建，到时候也方便你在项目期间进行一些社交媒体的传播。到了 2.3 就是这个科学社会经济的影响，这一部分我感觉国内应该好像是申请书那些也是没有的，但是欧盟这边都很重视。那写这个的时候，我第1年是写的好像是不是很明确，所以当时被评审也提了意见。总之我感觉就是你不要怕显小而夸大，也不要为了谦虚而吝啬于明确的点明你可能产生的影响。那比如说刚才我也介绍了我这个研究到底是要干什么的，那我在这部分对于社会影响这部分我就写了，我说 这个我要是能弄清楚积雪通过影响根系健康而影响夏季树木的用水的话，那我通过科学传播把这些简单的知识传播给了大家以后，可以有利于当地人们的这些园艺的一些工作，那其实可以提高大家的这个生活幸福感。虽然乍一听是不是有点离谱，但说实话这是可能是可以实现的。所以但是这个东西可能在国内就是你要这么说就是觉得不太，感觉有点虚，但是其实我觉得这里是可以写，大家要大胆的写下去，就只要不要太夸张就可以，就是一定要落地和务实就可以。那再接下来3.1这个 Gantt chart 应该是翻译根特图吧，这个其实我感觉就是国内申请书里面的研究计划表的进阶版，但是包含了更多的细节。第一个我的建议就是它里这个 work package 可以理解为工作包，在这部分呢，我就强烈建议大家在安排这个表的时候和之前在1.2写的方法部分强烈保持一致。当然你要构思这个的话，你当时在写方法的时候就已经要想到，最后我和这个表怎么联系在一起。像这个上面这部分呢，就是我的1.2部分方法。首先是我给了一个图啊，大概介绍了一下一些流程，然后里面也提到了，比如说这个WP 第4个工作包其实是为了实现我的目标3。那然后文字部分呢，我就详述工作包1是干嘛的，2是干什么的。那到了这个根特图的时候，我上来也就是工作包1，和这个是保持一致。但其实在工作包下面你还会有不同的小的这个任务嘛，然后在这里其实你甚至可以把这个小的任务和你在方法部分里列的这个也可以联系起来。我这个没有100%联系，因为确实就是有的时候不好弄，然后但是尽量我感觉你要这样写的话，评审一看前后都能对照，他们看起来心情舒适了，你的分是不是可能也就高了。那然后再下一点就是这个 milestone 和 deliverables， 这个也是国内没有的。那这个 milestone 我感觉就是项目进度的控制点。在我这里就是我觉得也可以是风险评估点。那对我来说，比如说我列的其中之一就是我每到了秋天，我就因为我这个观测是要在夏天进行的嘛，那我一到秋天我就来总结之前夏天观测的问题，那我再可以更新来年的计划。那到了这个项目可交付的成果呢，就比较像国内的就成果吧。那但是国内列的主要是科技论文啦、共享数据集之类的，但是在这边你还可以列，比如说是刚才我提到的这个政策简报啊，或者是科普文都可以列进去。在这个计划里面，同时大家还需要注意体现这个双向的训练。比如说你要可以再列出，不是说可以吧，尽量是列出你们这些双向的培训是在什么时候进行，同时你安排的时间节点最好也和你整个项目的这个流程是互相匹配的，是符合逻辑的。同时也不要忘记列这个前面说的这个传播开发和交流的计划的一些时间线。关于这个事业发展计划呢，就是提一嘴就可以了，但是在整个全文就全部申请书中是可以不用详述的，但这个在指南里也是明确说了。另外一个在3.1中的部分是风险评估和管理，这个国内应该也是不太有，或者是不是非常重视。那这个就是主打一个不夸大，但也不隐瞒，所有的风险全部列出，但列出的风险一定要一一给出对应的解决方案。刚才是针对项目就是申请书内部的内容的我的一些小体会。那剩下有一些比较笼统的，第一个就是我觉得要尽快的确定你的 host， 因为很多 host 他会提供一个非常详尽的培训计划。比如说这个以奥鲁大学今年为例，它4月份就已经开始了，然后一直持续到你提交申请9月份，就是有很详尽的一些他们的服务啊，或者是培训和一些支持。 那第二个呢，那肯定就是大家都知道了，越早动笔越好，尤其是首次申请时，这个额外要考虑的就是，你第一次申请，如果尤其是之前大家如果没有申请过欧盟的项目的话，那里面很多东西是和一些政策是我们之前不了解的。就随便举个例子，比如说刚才丽丽也提到了这个 Green Charter 是什么，国内肯定是没有的。那你写之前，虽然也可能就是一句话的事情，一个词的问题，但是你最好还是要去看一下它这个介绍啊，这到底是干什么？你也知道怎么样写这句话，和这句话放在申请书的哪个位置是最合适的。第二个就是遣词造句的问题，因为我感觉就是应该这是语言特征吧。就中文很多是相对比较含蓄，而且我们讲究一个言下之意啦，包括讲故事或者是写段落的时候，有的时候会说，哎，总分结构啊，分总结构都是可以的。但是我感觉在这边行文书写的习惯，最好是不要分总结构，尽量是总分，或者是最好是总分总，就上来每段第一句话就知道，哎，你这一段到底要干什么。然后写完之后，强烈建议大家不仅要发给比如说自己的导师看啊，自己的专业的同事看，有机会的话，尽量也发给就是会英文的亲朋好友看，就不需要专业对口，就仅仅是让大家来帮助你看是不是有歧义或者是模糊的地方，因为你要考虑到评审人也不一定完全就是非常跟你对口的，那如果他们会误会你，我建议大家更多从自己本子身上找原因，就是尽量写到他们不会误会你为止。另外一个就是这边的申请书它是法律局里上限是10页，然后有个字号下限是11。对于有的同志们，我估计是一个比较痛苦，是包括也对我也是，每次我写的时候，就是自己要是随心的写完，可能都是14、15页，然后要开始删，非常痛苦。那为了能够顺利的进行这一部分呢，就是建议大家可以合理灵活的使用图表，因为在图表里面它是可以使用更小的字号的。但是呢，大家也最好是需要反复测试一下，因为有的时候你使用图表可能反而会占用更多的空间。但是有的时候呢，你即便占用更多的空间，我也建议你尽量也保留。为什么呢？就是当然这也是我个人的一个习惯，我感觉你使用图表的话，整个版面会更生动，那评审人心情好，那么就都很好了嘛。所以一般我写申请书的时候是会尽量做到让所有的读者即便不看正文，只看图表也能领会申请书的核心内容。那对于我的这个本子是我在 1.1 是有一个图展现研究现状和不足，在 1.2 有个介绍方法的图，到了 1.3 哎，我还给了个图表，让大家让评审人看到这个互相欠缺的技能是如何通过这个训练流动的。那到了2.2这个传播开发和交流的这个计划，我也是列了一个表，更清晰的来阐述这些。那到了 3.1 是一个强制的跟特图。网上其实还有很多关于风险评估的一个风险评估表，但我最后没有用，是因为它确实也是太占地方了，然后就舍弃了。另外一个关于参考文献，大家就是没有强制要求说必须像发表文章那样有所有的信息。像我的话就是全部加在注脚里，注脚的字号也是可以更小，然后用的是超级缩略的一个写法。然后整体大家版面的话，我也建议是注意要保持空行和各种间距。然后还有一个地方大家可以设置，是在这个官方的要求里也是有的，有一个极限的页边距，我也是设置了。这样的话每一页其实你可以放更多的字，就是尽量可以满足这个上限10页的要求。那再一个就是关于大家的 CV 怎么讲？简历，简历我感觉和中国有个非常不同的地方，就是这边的话，你只要是可以验证的，你都是可以照实写。比如说，大家相信在座的大部分大家都有一些经历，就是大家在博士期间参与了导师的一些项目，但其实在正式的申请书里呢是没有你们的名字的，但其实只要你参与了，你都可以在这个玛丽居里申请书的简历里写上啊，包括你就是和导师一起项目申请的经历也可以写， 不但是参与学术会议，你组织学术会议的经历也可以写，包括科研和社会实践都可以写进去。那比如说这2个为什么也值得往上写呢？因为在之前大家也看到了，玛丽居里这个项目和欧盟很多的项目，它是重视你这个项目之后的传播的。那你如果有更多的这种经历，那也就说明你的人脉或者这种学术界的这个交流是更广的，那他们也是很乐于看到的。另外一个是关于你怎么决定你的项目开始时间，这个首先是存在一定学科差异，比如说有些文科的话，我感觉可能是都行。那对于像一些自然学科，比如说对于我来说，我生产期的野外观测就是核心的观测是在5月到9月。那为了配合这个呢，我就要进行一些这个设计，我不能说是就按照默认的，比如说今年应该是默认的话是4月1号开始。如果4月1号开始，第一个是我可能经费不到位，我来不及布设我的实验啊，种种原因，所以我就选择了10月开始。那第二个是大家也要考虑一下，拿到项目以后工作居留许可申请的时间。但我看好像明年是不是默认的开始时间是6月？如果这样的话，2月份拿通知，6月份正式开始，可能也是来得及。接下来就是团队和导师或者是 host 的选择。关于这个，就是如果大家比如说是有好几个 host 可以供你选择的话，那我也是建议大家通读指南，体会这个玛丽居里设立的核心目的。我的体会是，如果需要选择的话，就是大家尽量追求一个双方技能的互补，追求这个项目期间双方可以共同成长的。那这里呢，我也列出了，就比如说前面就是我的技能和我的科研背景，然后后面呢就是我的在这边奥鲁大学团队的一些技能，就可以看出他们是不同的，但是完全又可以联系得起来。这个呢，为什么说很重要？因为就是也像我们高考的时候选专业，你这个选导师、选学校，其实也是选择你未来2年的工作和生活环境。那讲到这里就聊点开心的吧，就说给大家介绍一下我在芬兰工作和生活的环境。那这边的话，就是大家都是严格执行这个工作时间，这样的话，也就意思就是说，在工作时间之外是没有人和你协作的，那你就被迫需要改善时间管理能力，然后在工作时间内必须就是非常的高效和快节奏。第二个是这边的导师和同事都非常随和和很专业，也非常有利于这个开展你的科研工作。然后这边至少奥鲁大学的行政部门对科教人员的服务和支持是非常的全面和高效的。像截止去年我申请的时候，其实奥鲁大学就是至今也只有14位独立研究员或者是现在的博士后研究员，但是可以看到它整个不仅仅是对这个，就是不管是什么申请吧，尤其是对这个玛丽居里是非常全面，所以我也是很惊讶他们怎么能做到这些。所以这些都是大家其实选择导师和团队的时候要考虑的问题。那再接下来就是一个英语，那以芬兰为例，它的这个英语的普及率是全球第6。然后奥鲁这个城市呢，也是芬兰最年轻和国际化的城市，所以我虽然不会芬兰语，但是完全不影响工作和生活。第二个呢，就是环境和文化，但这个大家怎么感受，那就是因人而异了。比如说像这里是众所周知，就是地广人稀，大家社交边界也比较得当。那对于我来说，就很好啊，感觉环境安静，内心平和，就是非常有利于我的身心健康。那但饮食方面呢，可能较欧洲主大陆国家有一点差距，所以这方面是有一点点痛苦。那再接下来就是关于这个气候了，那大家会感觉是不是很冷啊？可以看到这个就是北极，然后这是北极圈，绿色部分呢就是世界上还可以长森林的一个部分，这就是边界。冷确实是冷，也确实是冰天雪地的，但是对我来说就是求之不得的事情，因为正好我就要做这方面的研究嘛。所以关于这个地理位置，可能大家有些的选题这个是会有影响的，所以大家也可以考虑考虑。另外一个，但这也是看个人怎么衡量这个事情吧，就是关于 最后的工资和你拿到的工作的合同性质，就是税前工资，其实我现在发现根据不同的学校和国家还是会不同的。这个建议大家就是如果比较重视这一块的话，需要咨询一下这个host 学校的 HR 或者是有机会的话，就是最好咨询这个项目获得者，来知道一下这个税前和税后的工资。那接下来就是最后一个问题啦，就是当时在准备这个分享的时候，主办方也问了我说 Why do you think you were successful？ 其实我觉得这也很难回答，但是我能回答的就是能告诉大家，我觉得我不是很成功的部分。那来看我整个申请的一个过程，其中我觉得我犯的一个比较大的错误的话是第二年我的修改呢，我就是仅根据就是第一年的修改意见逐一修改了申请书，我其他基本上没有动。当然也是因为第一年科学就是第一部分它有科学部分，也有这个别的一些东西，科学部分本身就只有好评，没有任何的意见，所以我就几乎没有动。后来发现就是严重的可能是轻敌，或者是我也不知道什么，然后第二年就只得了75分嘛。然后得了75分之后，说实话当时也是心态崩了大概1到2天，因为不知道为什么第一年同样的科学问题没有任何的意见，但是到了第二年就是都有问题，而且这个意见也很笼统。但是后来想说，哎呀，来都来了，申请都申请了，就再来1年吧。那到了第3年，我就是非常就是，即便其实第二年的话，就是已经没有给我明确的意见了，都是些很笼统的负面意见，但是还是很认真的。虽然以前也参加过这些培训，就再次认真的过了所有的奥鲁大学的培训内容，也大改了核心的科学问题，就是把第1年和第2年整个的科学问题变成了第3年的问题3，并且额外新增了2个全新的问题。那到了最后一次，就是第3次，就是拿了98分，科学部分也拿到了满分，所以这也是我很开心的一件事情。那所有总结起来，我感觉就是希望大家对自己和申请书不抛弃不放弃。大家难过的时候，或者是拿到了比较负面的评审意见的时候，大家可以安慰自己说，哎呀，运气也很重要嘛。但是呢，你要是真信了，其实也不行，因为你终归最后还是最好是多找自己和本子的问题。像我之前说的，最好把自己的每一句话改到就是都吹毛求疵，改到评审不可能误会你为止。那对于你整个科学的这个点子和问题，就是确实要做到追求极致。我现在回过头来想，第1年和第2年那个科学问题是可以，但是没有说真的非常完全的尽到我100%的全力吧。第3年可以说是就是尽我全力了。那第3点我觉得很重要的就是选对 host， 这个不仅仅是你的导师和团队要实力强、专业互补，还有像我说的，你也支持你未来2年的工作环境。因为我也听说了，像今年的一些获得者来自从别的国家的，就是现在他们已经在签合同阶段了，就很多不是非常顺利的事情，所以这些也都是很重要的。那希望大家最后能够申请顺利啊，拿到更多的5分，然后 no major weakness was found。好，谢谢大家。
Thank you so much, Sosin Anchan. We are running a little bit over time here. I just want to take a little bit of a check here. Lily, are you still with us?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm here.
How much time do you have? Because I'm wondering if we should take questions. Yeah, it's okay because we still have one more testimony and
no
yeah,
problem.
Okay, thank you very much.
For me, it's okay. For you, it's okay. No problem.
But maybe I'll ask you, Gang, Dr. Gang, that maybe you can keep it like snappy, if that's okay with you. So I want to introduce the next testimony that we have with us, Dr. Gang Xiao, who is a Marie Curie Research Fellow at Cardiff Catalysis Institute at Cardiff University, where he's hosted by Professor Graham Hutchings. Maybe Vanessa could also follow up with introduction.
也是，今天我们也很荣幸请到了肖刚老师。肖刚老师呢，他是卡迪夫大学，来自卡迪夫大学，也是我们玛丽居里的研究员。欢迎肖老师。OK，go on.
Okay, and good morning and afternoon. And firstly, I will thank the Roxas and the China CMAA China chapter to have this very important and very useful webinar for the applicants this year. And my slides are in English, but I'll talk in Chinese. Okay, thank you. 好，那么现在呢，也非常感谢这个邀请。那么我主要呢分享一下我的2019年和2020年2次申请的经历。那么我的话呢，可能主要是这个2次都是 IF 嘛，没有涉及到近期的，他们21年开始是 PF， 也就是刚才陈老师讲的。所以说呢，可能要求上会有一些差异。那么，但是我刚才看了一下这个申请的核心内容来讲，应该大致还是相同的，所以说呢，应该还是有一定的借鉴意义。那包括我是从2022年的，我是20年拿到以后，然后呢，2022年的1月份开始当时也是因为这个英国这边那个 COVID 的限制，所以说实验室呢就包括老板这边建议我推迟到22年才开始做。那么现在呢，我大概是1年多了然后今年年底结束，所以说也会讲一些这个项目执行过程中的一些情况。OK， 那么我们主要分为3个部分来讲可能这 PPT 做的还是比较拘束一点第一部分呢就是为什么，还有就是怎么去申请，包括谁能够申请。那么首先呢，我们看到可能我们对于我们中国的学者来讲呢，就是都希望有一个去海外交流学习的机会。那么可能有很多的这种原因吧，我现在列了一些。那么其实对于我来讲呢，我是2018年也是当时参加这个咱们 Roxas 在北京的一个这个 brainstorm 的一个活动，那么然后了解到了这个机会。那同时呢，我也就是当时在这个新浪博客上看到了这样一个博客，然后去对比了各种国外奖学金的一个比例。当然他这个我觉得写的是比较老的数据，而且呢也可能不是最新的数据的。那么包括了英国的牛顿加拿大班廷、日本 GSPS， 咱们这个 MSCA， 还有那个澳洲的 DECRA， 还有德国的红宝。那么可能对国内的申请者来讲，我相信这个红宝是大家最熟悉的，因为它这个一个是红宝的资助时间比较长，然后它的资助率也比较高然后包括最后他会给了一个成功率加工资的一个排名这个玛丽居里是排第1的那么对于这个玛丽居里呢，当时我申请呢，当然一方面参考他这个排名，另一方面呢就是他的目的是呢帮助这个年轻的研究者成为一个成熟还有独立的科研人员。我想这个对于我是对于我个人来讲是最重要的一个考虑的部分当然第2个这个 salary 还有这个 reputation 确实也是比较重要的。首先说这个 salary 可能在整个欧洲我觉得还是比较高的一个水平。当然大家看到的这个 budget 那个钱很多，但是扣到手以后呢，其实是可能会砍了一半甚至更多大家可能对于这个要有一个预期。但是即便是砍完以后，那么在英国呢，就是在我们英国卡迪夫这边呢，它的拿到手的 salary 其实是跟就是刚入职的 lecture 的工资是差不多的，所以说我觉得还是 OK 的，就比本地的 postdoc 要高很多。那么另外呢，就是当时申请呢，它对于我们这些非常老的，因为我是很早就博士毕业了，所以说对于我们这些非常老的申请人来讲还是比较友好的。因为我们当时申请 IF 的话呢，没有你的毕业年限的限制，所以说你只要有博士学位你就可以去申请。那么另外呢，它对于你的 publication 的要求呢，其实不是那么的高，它不像这个红宝要求你要有比较好的 publication 比较好，但是这个玛丽居里我觉得相对比较友好，所以说当时也是选择了申请。 当然，如果大家这个成果比较好的话呢，也可以，而且就是新近毕业的话，也可以申请红宝啊、代库尔，我觉得也是对大家帮助非常大的。就是怎么去申请呢？我是想说呢，就是对于我个人情况来讲呢，属于当时申请的时候不是很有信心，就是试一试，因为我在国内也已经工作了一段时间了，所以说也就尝试了一下。中不中呢？可能当时没有抱很大的希望。首先呢，就是因为我是跟那个陈老师也是一样，我是土博士嘛，现在大家都是所有的经历，本科、博士、硕士啊，硕士、博士都是在国内，而且是在同一个单位完成的。那么另外呢，就是我在博士期间呢，其实没有做到很 focus 非常集中在一个研究方向上。那么也是可能这个就是做一做这个，做着那个，可能觉得更好发文章啊这样的。那么另外呢，就是没有很好的这个发表论文的经历，也没有，我是化学嘛，催化，然后在这个催化领域没有很好的这种 top 的文章。那么另外呢，在国内也没有跟欧洲研究者有任何的这种 connection， 所以说呢，申请时候还是非常盲目的。那么另外呢，我本人也是有不是非常擅长这个 social activity 的，所以说就是综合来讲，这个我的实力应该是当时申请时候还是比较弱的。所以说呢，就是这个这么说的意思就是说呢，大家可以不用去考虑自己的背景怎么样，要勇敢的去做出尝试吧，我觉得。那么另外呢，这个是我觉得刚才可能两位演讲的老师都已经提到了，那么怎么去申请啊？也就是我简单总结一下，就是这么几步。第一个呢，要找到自己的 host professor， 然后这个是首先要开始比较重要的一项。那么刚才其实陈老师讲了很多怎么去选择。那么对于我来讲，肯定我觉得最重要的也是他刚才提到的，就是我们的方向一定要互补。那么这样的话，对于个人成长也好，对于我们课题组的发展也好，都是非常重要的。那么另外呢，当然可能大家选择这个大牛是比较好的，因为选择大牛，你到时候成功率确实会影响很大。那么就以我的这个 host 来讲呢，他是应该是在欧洲，我觉得在化学啊催化领域应该是非常厉害的人物，可能相当于在国内叫资深院士的这种 level 吧。那么他之前呢也 host 过很多的马力矩列的学者，我相信这个对于你来申请，包括他对于这个东西的熟悉的程度也会有很大的帮助。那么另外呢，第二个呢就是host 这个学校会给一些很大的帮助，这个其实类似于刚才陈老师提到的。那么在卡迪夫大学呢，它的怎么说呢，帮助可能没有那么多，但是呢，他会把基本的一些流程套路，包括有一些往年已经申请完的申请成功的一些申请书的模板发给大家去参考，我觉得这个还是帮助很大的。那么刚才我在看的时候，也有老师可能在群里边提问，就是说能不能把我们的申请书分享出去？我想说呢，这可能有一些问题啊，就是他们有一些这个隐私的设置，但是呢，有一些多年以前的，或者是已经超过这个时限的，其实还是能够分享。那么这个呢，就可以由这个 host 这个学校来提供给大家。那么第三个肯定是最重要的一步，就是我们去准备自己的 proposal。那么这个是打分的最关键的一步。那么这部分的话呢，就是我在这儿写到老板参与要看缘分。那么其实对于大部分，特别是你找大牛的老板的话，他们可能没有太多的时间给你去修改。那么主要，当然我也了解到一些老师他们在申请的时候呢，老板是全程的参与，包括给出了很多意见，甚至有些地方呢，老板会亲自帮你去写。像有一些我们不太熟悉的这些什么这种 outreach 啊，包括这个 impact 啊 implementation 啊，这些我们中国人不太熟悉的地方，他们老板甚至有些会去亲自帮你写。那这样的话，肯定成功率会更高。但是呢，也不要对老板抱太大希望，他如果完全不管，那也是人家也说得过去。好，那么第四个呢，就是在提交之前要做很多的这种修改啊。刚才其实陈老师也提到了，可能不光是领域内的，也要包括我们其他 大家的一些亲朋好友啊，领域外的人来读。那么读起来如果非常的中间有一些不通顺的地方，其实大家都可以读出来。那么对于整体我觉得提交还是有帮助的。那么最后呢，就是早交早去嗨。那么其实刚才李李也提到了，我们不能等到最后，可能系统会有一些 bug 呀什么的，影响大家提交尽量的是早那么几天去提交。OK， 那么第二部分呢，就是我来讲这个准备 proposal 过程中的一些自己的一些体会吧。那么我就申请了2次，那么第一次是19年申请，当时呢这是这3个部分的打分，其实都还不太高。那么第1年只拿到了48.6的这个成绩，那么第2年呢，在这个基础上去修改。那么反正从这个结果来看呢，3个部分都有了一些提升特别是最后的这个 implementation 部分呢，提高了还是比较大的。那么最后呢，拿到94.4%。而我们当年20年的话 ，chemistry 这个领域大概好像是在92点几是可以拿到的影响。那么最近的 PF 的情况，大家也可以去查一查这个成功率啊，自助的这个分数大概是多少。好，那么我就说一说我们说一说我个人从这个19年到20年修改这个 proposal 中间的一些体会。那么第一个呢，就是我在第一部分这个他给了一些 weakness， 包括就打分以后会给一些你的这个优点，还有一些缺点。那么这个其中呢，我觉得就是从优点变成缺点的一个呢，就是说我19年的时候没有提到这个就是这种就是双向的这种 exchange， 刚才其实那个2位老师在讲时都已经提到了。那么到20年的时候呢，就很明显了，我可以很清楚的写出来我怎么去这种two-way transfer knowledge， 就是我怎么从我的 host 那里得到一些提高。那么我个人呢又能给 host 带来什么？那么对于我来讲呢，我可能是做一些这种光催化或者是等离基源催化的方面的工作。那么 host 呢，他们主要是在做热催化。那么两项之间呢，我觉得还是有一些比较好的契合。好，那么关于这一部分呢，还有一些从评审上还有一些比较重要的地方，一个就是这个关于 proposal 的一些新颖性，还有这个这种说服力啊，这方面我相信大家都是对自己专业是比较有把控度的。那么也可以请你的导师去给一些意见。那么关于这种多学科的这个方面，其实这块的话呢，大家可以尽量去找一些，因为像我这个申请来讲的话，它可能比较偏重于化学，那么其实不太涉及这种跨学科的东西。但是呢，我可以去找一些好点，比如说我们会用一些计算机的一些模拟啊，比如说用一些物理的这种光学的手段，因为用到光催化，所以说呢也会涉及到一些这种多学科的方面，因为这部分是必须要写的。那么还有呢，就是你的导师和这个就是 host 的这个学校，那么这2部分内容呢也会体现到就是这个第一部分的写作里边，因为我们要提到如何去跟导师的这种双向的这种知识的交换。那么另外呢，可以从这个学校里边得到哪些的培训可以提高哪些，所以说这些呢都要跟导师还有 host 的这个学校做好沟通。那另外关于这个打分呢，我还看到他们会提到你个人的，除了前面导师还有学校，还会提到你个人的一个这个 scientific track record， 其实就是他还会对你的第2部分的个人简历部分做出一些评价。那么这部分的话，其实我觉得刚才这个陈老师讲的非常好，就是简历跟我们在国内做的非常不一样。国内做的话，可能我们只是把发表论文拿到一些项目一些获奖，这个是比较传统的获奖论文项目国内的简历的标准方式。那么在这儿呢就是你要提供更多的关于你个人的一些情况，就是要提供更多的信息，比如说我们组织过什么会议参加过什么会议，那么其他的一些 outreach 的这些活动。还有呢，我觉得另外 一方面对我来讲比较重要的就是我会写一段关于我对 chemistry 对催化这个领域的贡献到底在哪儿，因为我的论文来讲没有非常大的给人眼前一亮的这种论文。当然，如果你有 Nature Science 的正刊，我觉得这个没问题，不写也行，大家一看都知道。那么如果没有的话呢，我觉得就是我们去写一写，我们通过这个博士期间，包括博士毕业以后这些年的研究，我们到底对这个领域做出了什么贡献，这块可以好好的去写一写。我是把这段话呢放在了我的 CV 的第一段，就是我觉得这个还是挺重要的。好，那么对于这个后边2部分呢，其实就是对于我们来讲，可能是不太擅长写的，因为它是比较欧洲的一些东西。那么我们就要去仔细的去读申请书，那么到底这2部分应该怎么去写？那么学校呢，其实也会给很好的培训。那么我这儿列了2个我觉得比较重要的地方。第一个就是其实刚才陈老师也都讲到，第一个是这个传播计划。那么传播计划呢，比如说在化学领域，我们可以提一些目标的，就不去笼统说我要发表什么样的几篇论文，我们可以提一提我们的目标的期刊是什么。因为最后给我评分里边呢，就会提到我这个目标还是非常高的啊。然后呢，所以说我可以提一提你新目标哪些期刊。那么还有呢，就是可以写一些近期要召开的非常重要的国际会议。那么像我呢，就当时写了一下这个就是应该是今年召开的欧洲的一个催化会议。那么这个非常重要。另外呢，就是我们要把这个知识呢传播到非专业的这个 audience 那儿，也就是说呢，我们可以通过一些社交媒体啊，比如说我当时我记得我比较好的就是我写了要开一个关于这个的网站，专门介绍这个项目的进展。当然最后可能现在没有开起来啊，但是大家不妨去写上，总有一天会开起来的。好，那么第3部分呢，完成度的话呢，也就是说我们要其实我觉得陈老师刚才讲的细节非常好，我就不多说了。其实主要就是要把我们的 work package 跟我们的甘特图里边的内容要对应好，而且要非常清楚一致。还有就是要把我们的 work package 非常好的放到我们的这个甘特图的这个时间表里边。还有一个就是这个 risk management 这块也比较重要，就是因为我第1年申请的时候，这个他专门提了一个意见，说我这个写的不好，就是没有真正写出这个项目可能的 risk 在哪儿，然后呢怎么去解决也没有提出。那么所以呢，第2年我就专门把 risk 这部分呢重新的去写了一下。比如说我这个的话，可能就是催化剂的活性啊，它可能没有我想象的那么好。那么这个我怎么去解决？要给一个非常好的解决方案。那么第3部分呢，就是简单介绍一下在卡迪夫的一个研究的情况。那么可能大家对于在不同的欧洲的国家呀，这个地区啊，可能生活的方式还是有一些差异啊，看个人的体会。那么对于我来讲，我觉得第一个因为我在国内也工作有段时间，就是这个天天的这个 7-11嘛，可能大家都体会比较深。那么到这儿以后呢，就是包括现在我老板每次给我开会，第一句话问我，不是说问你这个项目怎么样了，然后他就问我 Are you happy？ 就是你在这儿生活的工作的高兴吗？觉得这个还是差异比较大的。就是在这儿的话呢，更多的我们去享受我们的工作和生活，而不是说经常的 7-11这样去工作。那么第2个呢，我们肯定是要适应一个新的环境。那么其实可能最主要的一个就是大家要适应这边的比较慢的生活节奏，因为大家确实因为只要过了这个上下班的时间，然后就没有人发邮件，没有人会理了。所以说呢，就是心态要放平。如果你刚来的时候非常着急，一直去催他们的话呢，他们也会感觉很奇怪，然后你自己也会感觉很焦虑。所以说这个呢，可能要有一段这个适应时间。那么第3个呢，我觉得比较重要的就是要转变自己的角色。如果特别是大家刚刚毕业的 因为我已经毕业一段时间了，可能还好一些。如果是刚刚毕业的同学，我觉得一定要学会就是作为你自己的这个 boss， 因为虽然 host 呢，它给你提供了这个实验的环境，包括一些资源，但是说到底呢，这种跟 host 之间更像是一种合作关系，而非一种这种雇佣的关系。那么所以说呢，而且这个项目本身，包括经费啊，包括这个什么，全都是这个欧盟来出的。其实老板并没有出钱，那么他可能也不太 care 你会不会真的做出来一些东西，当然也分人。所以说呢，我觉得这个一定是要有转变，就是这个项目是我自己的，而不是老板的。那么当然这个呢，我觉得对于我们将来成长成一个独立的研究人员也是非常关键的。那么第4个呢，就是我们要善于利用我们的这个马里居里的这个经费，因为这个经费里边除了工资占了大头以外呢，还有一些研究经费。那么对于到我这儿呢，大概可能是2年也就多少16000镑，16000英镑，大概这样的一个钱。这个钱呢，其实你要真用起来，像我们的话，可能很快就花没了。所以说呢，我觉得这个因为我去年的话也没有做好很好的计划，所以说在买设备啊、买药品方面还是比较随意的，最后这个钱花的现在就所剩无几啊，以至于我现在想去开会都要再去跟老板这个要钱啊，是比较尴尬。所以说大家如果拿到的话呢，一定要对这个少量但是呢有非常重要的钱呢做好一个规划。还有就是呢，这个实验室本身是有一些资源的啊。如果我觉得能跟老板去争取的话，尽量跟老板争取啊。然后就是可以把我们仅有的这样一些经费啊，花到更有用的地方吧。因为老板他可能更有钱。好，那么最后下面就是可以趁着这个其实到欧洲以后，我觉得还是有这种挺多的机会去跟欧洲其他的一些国家呀、大学的这些老师们研究者们去交流，包括这个还有工业界的一些人去交流。所以说要借着这个机会去就是建立更多的联系和这个关系吧。当然，我觉得如果大家在欧洲大陆的话，可能机会会更多一点。在英国的话，就是因为还要去欧洲，还要去申请这个申根签，所以对我们来讲限制还是比较多的。你在欧洲大陆的话，可能机会就会更多。那么另外最后呢，当然就是 balance 的 work life。然后可能如果是年轻，如果大家刚毕业，没有结婚，没有小孩的话，我觉得这个还好。然后因为我是携家带口过来的，包括我有2个孩子，所以说呢，孩子要上学，然后现在呢，我们大概要下午3点半，他们这儿上学时间比较短啊，下午3点半就要去接孩子，所以说怎么把这个工作还有这个生活 balance 起来，还是非常大的一个挑战，特别是对于如果大家携家带口共同过来的话，行 ，OK， 这个就是可能我的内容稍微短一些啊，大家如果有什么问题的话，也欢迎提问，包括会后也可以加我的这个微信，我们去再交流。好，谢谢。Okay，thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Xiao. Perfect. Now we will have some time for Q&A, which I think is very good. We've already closed the Q&A, so unfortunately we cannot take more questions. There's quite a bit. I've been trying to get a lot of the questions out of the way that were kind of answerable, so we could focus on those where we can actually get to enjoy what the experts have to say. First, though, a lot of the questions were just about the QR code, and I want to put that on again. This is a new one. I create third group, so a lot of people want to add themselves to the VChat group. That is understandable. It's a great way to also talk to the testimonial people today and talk to each other. It's a good way to do this. So you can see the QR code here. Let's take a look at the questions. Some of them are easy to answer and quick, and then we just do it quickly. Maybe first, Zheng Xuan, just yes or no. There's a question here about the Marie Curie Alumni Association. Are you here? Yeah, you're there. He's asking if PhD students can join, if they're like Marie Curie postdoctoral fellows. Are they able to join the Alumni Association chapter, China chapter? I don't hear you because you're muted.
Okay.
Yeah, good.
Sorry, I can't find this question. Which question is this?
He said, can MSCA PhD student join the China chapter? The PhD student. That's the question.
Yes. PhD students is also can join to the MCAA. MCAA is also the includes the PhD and postdoctoral researcher. So welcome if they have been approved for the Marie Curie postdoc.
Good, thank you very much. Then I'm going to ask Lily. For the European postdoctoral fellowship, is it possible to have 2 host organizations and 2 hosts in Europe for a proposal?
Not directly. It's possible, but you need to have one main host. Okay, one main host. But you can have an additional host for a secondment or for non-academic placement. That's when you can add another organization. It may be in the same country or another country, but officially you need to have one host, okay? And then you can add for shorter duration of the fellowship.
Good. There's a question in Chinese that I'm not quite sure how to understand myself, but maybe we can discuss it. She's asking, it has been more than a year since I graduated from the doctoral program and I found a position already. I've been in Europe for more than a month. Can I still apply for a Marie Curie just for this year or maybe in longer period? I don't know. What do you think, Lily?
Is it a PhD position you said or a postdoc?
She just graduated from the doctoral already, so I imagine it would be a postdoc. Yeah.
Okay, yes. And she's been in the country just for 1 month. In that case, yes, she will be eligible because the time frame is 12 months in the last 3 years. So from now until September, there are only another 4 months, and plus 1 month, she's still eligible in that case, yes.
Right. Yeah.
But there was similar question in the chat, you know, if I can reply to it as well, because somebody said from 2020 was at the University of Oulu and been in the host country for 2-3 years. This applicant is not going to be eligible if this is a university in Europe.
Well, it's interesting because maybe we can get an answer from Cuo Sinan, because they're actually asking her because she said that she had been for 2 years in Finland.Maybe you can tell us how that happened.
So that's not the case. So I only arrived Finland last year, like March. So before I submitted this proposal last year, I only stayed in Finland 7 months.
Right.
So earlier, it's just I had contact with them, but I was still in China.
Overall, I think there must have been a misunderstanding, but overall, like Lily mentioned, you cannot have been for more than 12 months for the last 3 years. So if you've been for more than a year in total recently, you probably are not able to go there. But like I answered for a lot of you, you have 2 options. If you're not in the country anymore, you can wait until you're eligible again, or you could apply for some other country. If you were in Germany, maybe you can apply in Austria. That's still possible for you. You just cannot be in the country where you're living. Question to you, Lily. You were talking about the MSCA matchmaking platform, but there's a question because the registration is closed. I just checked it out and it seems like they closed it on the 5th of May. Maybe this is, go ahead.
I just received a reply today about it. It's only closed for today because at the moment they're upgrading it. From tomorrow it's going to open, or maybe if not tomorrow, next day it's going to open again.
Okay.
Okay, they're working on it. They're upgrading it. So I didn't know neither about it, but I just received a notification this morning.
Yeah, so maybe take a look again in some time, a few days or weeks. There's a question here. If I have a position or scholarship in China and the position offered to me by the European host is half salary, can I apply for the Marie Curie project? I'm not quite sure what the circumstances are being described here. What do you figure you understand, Lily?
No, because it seems some job position is being offered at a half salary, so being part-time, meaning probably. Once again, is the mobility rule. If the person did not have that contract and is not residing in that country for more than 12 months in the last 3 years, it's possible to apply, yes. But the mobility rule is the one, the key here.
Yep, and clearly, but these positions, these fellowships are full-time. So like
yes,
yeah,
to be honest, there is an option now to edit for some reasons, family reasons or health reasons, whatever. There is a way to decrease it, but you always apply as a full-time, and then if you're successful, you discuss with the project officer, and you might decrease to part-time work.
There's a question here that I'm going to also ask you, Lily. Her host is not a university, but a research institute in a hospital. Mm-hmm. So there's no special department that helps with international grants, let's say, Marie Curie. So she is wondering what she needs from the supervisor besides helping with that application form, or is there something else that the institution needs to be doing actively?
So the institution needs to provide some information, such as the PIC number. The PIC number is the code that you have to enter, so that this organization must be already registered in the funding and tender portal, have the PIC number. So this is one thing that definitely you will need. Of course, then there are some questions that the researcher wouldn't know, and it has to be provided by someone from the host entity, such as what of infrastructure they do have, what kind of projects they participated in the past, what kind of services are available at that university. So these kind of things has to come from the host organization. But I think the question was also related to what additional support, apart from reviewing the proposal, the supervisor can get, the researcher can get. And in that case, they can also contact the national contact point in the country that they're applying, because they might also have some courses or some trainings available, also review the proposal. I did provide a link as well to the person.
Really good point. There's a network of national contact points, which Lily belongs to if you're going to Malta, but also in other countries, there are going to be similar people like her. And these people can help you with things, answer some questions and so on. There was also a question earlier that I already answered. The question was about if people want to look at like successful examples or whatever. It's a good idea. Maybe we'll do something like this here in EurAccess. But I also said they could maybe look to the contact points. They are very familiar. Maybe they can also, you know, like help you to understand this. Am I correct to direct you to that? Direct them to the contact points, Lily?
Absolutely, yes. The national contact points are in all European countries, and not only. There are also some in China. Eventually, there is no, I just checked. But anyway, for Chinese researchers, they have to choose their country and contact the relevant national contact point there. If you choose Malta, for example, you can definitely contact me, and I provide you with assistance and help.
There you go. So if you're going to Malta, you can talk to Lily. If you're going somewhere else, there's a list online we can find. I can maybe put it in the Vita group later. Next question. This is a simple one. Is it allowed to apply for a postdoctoral fellowship if we already had like a Marie Curie doctoral fellowship? I like a doctoral,
yes.
Not fellowship, doctoral network.
Absolutely, yes. And in fact, probably even the success rate will come somehow higher because you are already having the MSCA experience from before.
Great. Dear Lily, thank you for this wonderful sharing. I would like to ask, if we write the proposal so specifically, can we make small changes of the events that we promised during the application? So like, do they have to follow up on everything they said, I guess is the question.
Yes, you will need to follow as much as possible, but of course changes might happen. So in that case, you will have assigned project officer if you are successful, and from the commission, and you can always discuss any changes with the project officer directly. And usually they allow, I mean, there is some flexibility, of course.
Great. There's a question in Chinese. The question is, do I have to get the graduation certificate first when I'm applying?
So by the time of the deadline of the call, 13 September, either you need to have the PhD awarded, or else the thesis approved, okay, like defended.
Right. Then there's the cool video that you shared. Do you have a link to that? Maybe we can put that somewhere. Maybe you can send to us and we can share with them.
Of course, it's part of the presentation, but I probably can find it even now. So
okay.
I can put it in the chat. Okay.
Sure. there's a question. I was wondering, what are the differences between the Marie Curie Fellowship and the other doctoral fellowship in terms of the roles of the postdoc or the responsibility in performances?
I wouldn't know that because probably there are so many countries that are providing this kind of postdoctoral fellowships, and I'm not familiar with them. So I can only speak on behalf of MSCA.
Yeah, clearly. Let me see here. There's a question from Wei Tang at 6 o'clock. This is a question for Mr. Xiao, Dr. Xiao. When you take the Marie Curie offer to go abroad, did you have to give up your job in China?
Okay. Well, it depends on policy of the university work. So in China, so maybe we can talk about later.
Yeah, you can talk like whatever.
Yeah, we can talk about it later. Okay.
I can share with my experience. I feel like a lot of universities in Europe would give people maybe a break to do some kind of training, right? Because this is a way to make you a better researcher, right? But this is something that is up to the university if this is something that they take into account or whatever. So, you know, you need to discuss it with your institution if this is a possibility. There's a question from Xinxin Liu. Is there a possibility for the host professor to support more than one applicant? This is maybe Lily can answer. And do we need to avoid that if that's the case? How to find whether the host has been cooperating with a postdoctoral fellow before, and where to find a training program in my university or institutions. Thank you for your kind answer.
So the supervisors may host as many as researchers as they want. In some cases, very popular supervisors and very popular host institutions would have many applicants. This doesn't mean that they all are going to be successful. So they do take the chance and do take the opportunity to supervise and agree to supervise as many as possible, to find out about that, how many postdocs the supervisor has hosted in terms of MSCA, and not only MSCA, maybe other programs. You have to ask the supervisor, unless it's indicated somewhere on their personal websites or links of information of the university or the host entity. And the same thing is for the training programs provided. You will need to access, of course, the websites of the host entity and look for information there, or contact the relevant contact points there. There is no such a global website where you will find all this information otherwise.
Great. For the doctorate certificate, people are wondering about eligibility, right? If it's obtaining it after half a year of defense, I can only apply if I'm using the defense certificate.
Mm-hmm. Yes, defense is needed, at least.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Last year I was applying with Spain and I got 87.4. This year I worked in Spain. So for this year, can the Spain be the secondment institution?
Depends for how long the person was working there. But 87 is definitely allowing you to resubmit. But depends since which month this person was based already in Spain.
Right. So
again,
the secondment also needs a mobility rule. Just now asking you actually myself. That's
for the secondment?
Yeah, he asks, can I use the Spain as a... Yeah.
Yes. I thought is again to reapply, not as a secondment. Secondment does not respect the mobility rule. You can, there is no need of this mobility rule for the secondment. You can apply for a secondment in the same country that you are living and working.
So this probably is possible, but you would need a fellowship somewhere else, right, to be able to do this. So you need to apply or somewhere else, and then you might be able to do Spain for secondment. There's a question about the VJET group. There's a question 617 from Kuhn. Thank you for hosting this seminar. Questions to Mr. Shen and Mr. Xiao. Do you have any suggestions on how to contact a host? I sent some emails before in early April, but no professors replied to me. Maybe I start with Professor Dr. Xiao and then ask Dr. Shen. Dr. Xiao?
It's very complicated, but for me, it's very fortunate for me. I contact Professor Hutchins and he replied very quickly that he can support me. So it depends. You can just try the professor you like, and if they can support you, and you can apply. Of course, if you have previous connections with the professors or your supervisor in China, maybe he or she has some connections between with EU researchers. It would be better. Just try to contact as much as you can until you get your host professor. Thank you.
Okay. There maybe Dr. Chen, do you have any suggestion?
Could I speak in Chinese?
Yeah, because the question was in Chinese. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. 对于我来说，我当时其实不是主动找的，我是2020年博士一毕业，我就去投简历，然后得到了奥鲁大学的面试，但是最后职位没拿到，但他们就是邀请我一起来申请这个。所以我其实是没有这个经历的，但是根据我现在在这边的感受和理解，大家其实要找的话，还就是发邮件。那到底怎么样是能找到高效的找和靠谱的找？这个一个是就真的是只能随缘，然后另外一个就是我觉得国内如果大家都是土生土长，比如说国内的这个学者，大家要有自信，要胆子大，你就发没有关系的。Thank you.
Very good. Thank you so much. There's a question about if universities from the UK are still available. I answered this already in writing, but it's probably a common question. So for those that are asking about this, the UK is currently in the process of negotiating being associated with Horizon Europe. There is a will to make this happen. While this is the case, you are allowed to apply for a UK university, yes, but you will not get the Marie Curie money from Europe if the agreement between European Union and UK is not ready when you're supposed to start. So in that case, you could be in trouble, but the UK up until now has always committed to support those researchers with their own UKRI grant. So I mean, like so far, nobody has had a problem. Of course, we're all hoping this is going to be solved very soon. I know there's many people are wondering about this, so I hope this has been answered. There's a question if I can apply for the Marie Curie after applying for CSE, that's the China Scholarship Council, or the DAD, that's the German Academic Exchange Scholarship. I don't think there's any connections, Lily. Are you aware of, I think, no, right?
No, there is no, of course, the person can apply, yes. There is no connection, and also there is no limit on how many postdocs you should have, so. Yes.
There's a question about application. Once I stayed in Germany for nearly 7 months for PhD 3 years ago, and then because COVID-19, the labs closed and I had to go to France. Do you need to write this experience to the application system? In general, how detailed do you need to be in your experience part of the application?
You don't need to explain that in the actual proposal part, but there is a section where you have to justify your eligibility. So when they see that you spend time in Germany, France, whatever, there is a section where you can justify how long time exactly you spend there. And in that way, you are going to justify the mobility rule. So there is a small table in the part A where you have to explain that in the administrative parts.
Yeah, so I feel like we are basically now at the point where the questions are coming after we finished, we closed off after we finished the whole thing. So just for fairness, I think we should just stop. But I think also a lot of them are asking similar things. For people that don't feel like it's very clear about certain things, let's say the mobility rule. This is like, where can I go and when? Feel really welcome to ask us in the WeChat group if you're there, and we can keep talking about this. I will also stay for a little bit longer. I will see if I can answer something in writing just to make sure. I would personally like to add a little bit to like how to apply for how to reach out to host institution, because this is such a big step for Chinese researchers, the first step. You need to find somebody in Europe to work with. And somebody said, I tried to write to them and they didn't answer. I want to invite you to send us here in Your Access your email that you sent to them, and I will give you feedback, because sometimes it could be simply a question about how you're writing it. I find there's a little bit difference in how Chinese researchers write their emails and how Europeans do. So if you want, we could take a look. It could simply be because there was like format or whatever. It's like the style could have been a problem in that case. Or you could also ask in the WeChat group. We can continue the conversation over there. Is there anybody that would like to add anything at this point? Lily,
I would like to add something to the point that you mentioned now. So in some cases, when you contact a supervisor, maybe they're not so informed about this MSCA call. It's much more easy to find a supervisor that has expressed interest through these Euro-Access hosting offers, because they already know what is the call about and everything. So maybe it's more easy to get a reply from those supervisors. So yeah, better to check first those.
So some people are just not on the market for hosting you. So it's very good to understand first, who is interested. And there is a way to do that. Euro-Access, for example, have a hosting database also there. If they're already there saying we want to host somebody, they're almost definitely going to answer you. I feel like it's very likely. In other cases, you might need to kind of convince them, and there's an art to that, of course. Let me see.
And also one last point for the mobility rule, because too many people are asking, it's check, right, just in the search, MSCA Guide for Applicants 2023, and read this short document. It explains very well the mobility rule. So it's much better to have it in writing and to think about it. So you find all the answers there, even for the secondments and for everything.
I want to, I see that there's a question about kids. Maybe I just think it's interesting. Is there anything, because I also have a problem about how long could be extended due to taking care of kids. Is this a thing that is taken into account, Lily? Are you aware of this? Is there some family thing or whatever?
But so the researcher has already kids and wants to maybe reduce from full-time work to part-time work, if in the occasion that is being successful in the fellowship. If this is the question, it's possible, yes, to reduce it. As I said, first, you always apply full-time, but then it can be reduced for such reasons.
Yeah. Okay, good. Thank you so much, Lily. Thank you so much, Dr. Xiao. Thank you so much, Dr. Chen. As well as, of course, Zhongshan Liu for the co-organization. I want to thank Vanessa for translating some of the questions. We would have been in trouble without that. And also to Anna Faginetti, my colleague, that was basically hosting everything technically, and it was very good. Thank you so much. Dr. Xiao talked about work and life balance. Now I'm going to be thinking about that. I'm going to join the Guo'an against the Jinmen Tigers. They are playing in the worker stadium, and and they're starting in half an hour, so I need to go run. No, if there's any outstanding questions, you don't feel like it's not very clear, whatever, you can consider this as a community now. We all invited you to the WeChat group. We can keep on answering the questions. We could even forward some questions to Lily if needed sometimes. If you go into Malta, she obviously is there to help you. So, okay, thank you so much, and see you all on WeChat. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Thank you.
I'm going to close the webinar now.
Yep. Thank you, Anna.
Thanks, Hunter.
Do we have recording of the questions? I mean, I think the Q&A probably comes into, it's we can find it online somewhere.
Yeah.
Because some of them we might want to take a look again. Some of them, there were probably good questions there, and yeah, whatever. Okay.
Yeah,
right.
no, we have it. We will have it later. Yeah, after we close the webinar, we will have that too.
Good. All right. See you.
See you. Bye-bye.